Now, it's case number 360 on the calendar in the matter of Hollis versus Martosi. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
How old are you, Mr. Hollis?
23, Your Honor.
And you, Mr. Martosi?
24, Your Honor.
What do you do to occupy your days, Mr. Hollis?
I'm a full-time student at Christopher Newport University, and I'm also in the United States Army Reserve.
So you're a student?
Yes, ma'am.
And you?
I'm also a student, Your Honor, and also in the Air National Guard.
Is this a roommate of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old is he?
26.
And what does he do to occupy his time?
He's a student, and he's also a realtor.
And how many people rented this house?
Myself and 3 others, Your Honor.
4 young men?
Yes, ma'am.
All in their 20s?
Yes, ma'am.
And from what genius did you rent this house?
I'm the owner, Your Honor.
You are the genius who's the owner.
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay for this house, Mr. Hollis?
$205,000, Your Honor.
How much did you put down?
$20,000.
Where'd you get it from?
From my deployment in Bosnia.
Did you have a good time in the house?
We have, yes.
Did you have nice parties?
We've had several, yes, ma'am.
Now, at one of the parties, it is your claim that the defendant caused some damage, and he was a tenant of yours. He rented a room.
Yes, ma'am.
He's no longer a tenant. You want him to pay for that damage.
Correct.
Second thing you want him to pay for is rent for the month of April, because he moved out mid-month.
Right.
And you want him to pay for that month that he moved out. And Mr. Martosi says he's not paying your rent. He didn't like what was going on in the house. And he didn't cause any damage to your property. Somebody else did. And he also says that somebody vandalized a motorcycle that he left in your garage by putting a hole in the gas tank, and he figures that was you. So he's got a counterclaim. Now, Mr. Martosi.
Yes, ma'am.
You lived in this house until what point in April?
April 20th.
Did you pay April's rent?
No, ma'am.
You're gonna pay April's rent. Do you understand? Your behind was there in the month of April. You pay rent.
Yes, ma'am.
See how easy that was? Rent. And how much was your share of the rent?
It was $400, but after I had moved out and I had come back, I found my motorcycle, which was originally...
I'll get to your counterclaim in a second,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
Right now, you're going to pay him his rent, which you should have paid it first of the month anyway.
Well, I also had tuition assistance coming in that wasn't always on time, and it
That's
could
whose
come back.
problem is that? It's not your landlord's problem.
But he knew about this, and he
I
had
don't
to
care
put
what
it
he
back.
knew. He's supposed to pay him rent at the beginning of the month. Did I ask you a question?
No.
Perfect. $400. That's what you owe him for rent. So far, so good, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let me hear about the damaged property.
I have pictures of it here.
Just tell me about it, sir. I'll do your show and tell in a minute.
He was in a fight in a party that I was not even at. They had some friends over. They had a fight in the garage.
Well, then you weren't there.
I was there, Your Honor.
Perfect. Stand up. What's your name?
My name is Timothy Baggett. Timothy. Yes.
Just take your hands out of your pockets.
Sorry.
You never know what you have in your pockets. All right. When was this party, Timothy?
This party was approximately June of 2006, the first month or two he lived in. It was a graduation party.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, the party took place. It was for a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours. He was drunk, and
Anybody else drunk?
I'm sure.
Oh, it's not an answer.
Several people were drunk at the
Go
party,
ahead.
I'm sure.
Keep going.
So he wanted to get his keys back, and Mr. Martosi stepped in and said a few things to him. The fight broke out in the garage. I was there witnessing the fight. At one point, the fight tumbled over and bumped into the garage, breaking the window out. And that's the damage that was done in the garage.
Well, who caused the damage?
Well,
Look at me. Who
Yes.
caused the damage?
I was standing there watching, and they bumped into me, pushing me into the garage window. However,
Just a
so
second.
technically, my back went through the window. Technically.
Technically.
Yes.
Perfect. Go ahead. Let me hear.
He was actually involved in the fight because it was a pretty big guy that was in it, and it took 2 of us to take him down. He was actually involved the whole time, not just standing by.
Okay. What else?
There's a trench in the side of my yard where Mr. Martosi parked his Tahoe. There was a rain that night, and when he left, he spun tires in the yard, leaving a trench. Also, his room still has nails in it and writing on the walls. I don't know why he wrote on the walls, but he did. Also, holes in it and a hole in the door that he punched.
Can you explain to me why absolutely nothing of this is in your complaint? The only thing that's in your complaint is a shattered window, sir.
I thought I had
Here,
it
I'll
all
show
in
you
there.
your complaint. Here. Other than
In
the
August 2006.
Other than the August of 2006, you say he also pulled his truck into the front yard and put a huge trench on the ground. That's August of 2006.
Right.
He moved out a year later.
Right.
Why, a year and a half later, do you sue him for making a hole in your lawn?
The tenant left damages to his room.
I'd asked him several times while he was living there to do it, and since we were already going to court about it, Just put it all in there together.
How much did it cost you to fix the trench where he made a
I
hole?
haven't fixed it yet, but I have an estimate.
You have a picture of it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
It's the top picture, Your Honor.
You have estimates to fix this? I'll come over myself, put a little dirt in, and throw some seed over it. Right?
Right.
Get over it. He owes you for rent, $400. What else?
The bills that he neglected to pay for the month of April and also some in March.
What bills did he neglect to pay in March?
In March, there was a power bill and also the wastewater treatment and the Newport News Waterworks runs for 2 months.
Did you pay the utilities in March?
No.
How much do you owe him for the utilities in March?
He says I owe him $122.50, but the receipts that he showed me, some were post-dated even after I left.
Okay, so how much do you owe him?
If anything, like $75 approximately.
Well, is that how much your utilities were for the months that you were living there?
Yes and no, depending on the power bill and everything else that went on in the house.
He owes you for the utilities. What else?
That's it, Your Honor. The utilities, the rent, and the damages.
Damage to his room.
Fine. The damages you don't get, sir. The damages you talk to him about, you talk to the other person about, but you don't blame one person for a fight that broke out in your house. And as a matter of fact, he was involved. Put your hand down.
Yes.
Put your hand down.
Yes.
He was there. He was involved in it. He was the one who broke the window. 2 other people may have pushed him into a window, but there was an altercation, and you weren't there.
Right.
And for the year or more that he lived there was no lawsuit about that window.
Right.
Right.
But also his room, the walls were destroyed in his room.
Yes.
I never destroyed the rooms. The most I did was hang up a couple pictures. And the writings, I don't remember any kind of writings that it could have been.
Well, maybe he wants to show you a picture.
I have
Now that you
pictures.
say you don't remember, you want to look at a picture? Okay. Show him the picture of the writings on the wall.
I believe it was done to level.
There is a line. There's a line where I hung a picture.
Could I see it?
And I don't know where that hole came from in the door.
Where's the writing on the wall, sir? Is this what you're showing me, a line?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a hole in the door as well.
Mr. Hollis, he owes you $500 for the rent and the utilities. Now let's get to anything else that I have to deal with, damages to motorcycle and other personal property.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's a lot of baloney, Mr. Bartosi.
Besides that,
That's a lot of baloney, what you just told me.
And later today,
Your former husband was not required to pay child support as long as the statute was not
It
satisfied?
doesn't have a particular grade point average.
It doesn't have to have a grade point average. He had a grade point average of 0.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Billy Joe Hollis says former tenant Jason Martosi owes for unpaid rent and bills and for damage to his home. Jason is countersuing, claiming Billy Joe intentionally damaged his motorcycle.
You had an accident with your motorcycle,
yes.
and your motorcycle was not working.
I was fixing up in Mr. Hollis's garage.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
When you moved out, did you take your motorcycle?
Not immediately.
The answer would be, no, Your Honor, I didn't take my motorcycle.
Correct.
What did you take when you moved out?
The rest of my belongings. He knew I needed...
Don't tell me what he knew.
I needed transportation to transport my bike to my new house.
Because it didn't?
It wasn't running
Right. And it wasn't running because?
because it needed a new brake lever, and I wasn't going to ride it without a brake lever.
That's a lot of baloney, Mr. Bartosi.
Besides that,
That's a lot of baloney, what you just told me.
well, as far as repairing the bike, the fairings were damaged in the accident.
Okay, so the bearings are down. It wasn't a foot brake. The bearings were broken.
It was the fairings on the side of the bike, the right side.
Yeah.
The hand lever for the
Yeah.
brake and the mirror. Nothing was wrong with the gas tank. The gas
Okay.
tank was still fully intact.
Perfect. And when you went back to pick it up, when? When did you go back to pick it up?
A couple weeks after I had moved out. They had taken the bike, and it was sitting in the backyard on its side with a newly formed hole in the gas tank.
And who did that?
Billy.
How do you
Billy
know?
Joe.
How do you know? What
I
proof do
think
you
he's
have?
just mad because apparently...
Just a second. Tell me what proof you have that Mr. Hollis in any way damaged your motorcycle.
Somebody in that house had to have damaged my motorcycle.
That's possible. That's not proof.
And as far as who to blame, since it was his house, he knew it was my bike, and it was in his garage.
It's not his responsibility. As a matter of fact, he could have taken it and thrown it out. You hadn't paid rent. You abandoned the property. You left it there.
I was
You
never
left-
banned
Listen-
from the property.
Yes, you did. Sir, you didn't pay rent in April. He could have taken all of the stuff that you left behind and thrown it in the garbage. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Period. That's what he could have done. So, unless you have proof that he intentionally vandalized your motorcycle, you haven't given me proof. All you said is, well, somebody in the house must have done it, right? Because I assume the garage is a locked garage, right?
Correct.
And when you left it in a locked garage.
Correct.
And only the people who live in the house can get into the garage. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Right, Your Honor. And when he moved, he also kept his keys, so I had to change the locks.
So that it had to be somebody in the house.
Correct.
Or a guest of somebody in the house.
And they had lots of guests over.
And they had lots of guests over. I can't help you with that, sir. What else?
I had damage to wooden chairs, approximately $100 a piece, foosball tables.
Yeah.
I had collectible posters.
Did you take all that stuff with you?
It was damaged, and I
Did
took
you
it out of
take
the
it
house.
with you?
Yes.
Do you have pictures of it?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Goodbye. You owe him $500. That is for your rent and utilities for the month of March, rent for the month of April. You got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
As far as living in the house, they basically turned it into a frat house.
Oh, that's ridiculous. His best friend's 19, and he passed out drunk every night on the couch.
When we had parties breaking of my property,
Blatant lie.
they basically just, dusted off their shoulder and didn't think anything of it.
It feels like he's just reaching, trying not to pay.
Basically get a more mature roommate.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeGuire versus Stafford. Step forward.
Steve DeGuire is suing his ex-wife, Kimberly Stafford, for the return of child support. Steve claims that Kimberly has been defrauding him for over a year.
Mr. DeGuire, let's see if we can resolve this today.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Miss Stafford is your former wife, and you have one child. Or
Yes.
you have a child together, a boy. I assume that's this young man right here?
Yes.
You've been divorced for how long?
It's been 18, 19, 20 years. It's been a long time, since '89.
And you've been paying child support since the divorce?
Yes.
And it is your claim that you made several payments of child support after your son turned 18?
Yes.
That you shouldn't have because he was not successfully enrolled in college. And your former wife says, well, he's trying. It's pretty much your defense. What does your judgment of divorce provide for with regard to child support, Mr. DeGuire?
The original divorce decree called for $50 a week, and '89, or no, it was '93, I think it was raised to $467 a month.
Okay. And is that what it remained?
Yes.
And until when are you supposed to pay child support, sir, under the
Until he
divorce
is
decree?
emancipated. Under the state statute, he was supposed to keep a certain grade point average, and he...
Okay, now, emancipation occurs at different points. I assume it's 18, where you are, unless certain criteria are met.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of that state statute?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it because I was surprised by your interpretation of it. It seems rather subjective. Let me take a look at it. Stand up, young man. Tell me your first name.
Ryan,
How old are you, Ryan?
19,
After your parents divorced, did you have regular visits with your dad?
every weekend.
Get along okay?
Every other weekend. Yeah, everything
Get
went
along
fine.
okay?
Yep.
Great. This statute, do you know what it says? Well, it says that despite the fact that you turned 18, if you're attending a school and successfully complete at least 12 credits, then your dad is supposed to continue to pay his child support until you reach 21. That's what it says.
Okay.
So let's go to last year. What school were you going to?
Jefferson Community College.
Was that your first year of college?
Yeah.
Did you successfully complete 12 credits?
No.
In either semester?
No.
How many credits did you successfully complete?
0.
Why?
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Halfway through my first semester, I changed my major.
Who did you discuss that with?
One of my counselors and
Discuss it with your mother?
my mother, yes.
And when your grades came after the first semester, what kind of discussion did you have with your mother?
That I just needed to try better and to actually figure out what I needed to do. And
So you failed everything.
right.
And what about the second semester? Now you've changed your major.
And the second semester, same thing.
Miss Stafford,
Yes.
were you aware of the fact that your former husband was not required to pay child support as long as the statute was not satisfied, which seems pretty detailed?
It does, but to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't have a particular grade point average that...
Doesn't have to have a grade point average. He had a grade point average of 0.
Ryan
this is
enrolled.
not a very subjective test.
Right.
It says, so long as the child enrolls for and completes at least 12 hours of credit each semester. Well, he did not complete 12 hours of credit his first semester, and he did not complete 12 hours of credit his second semester.
And the college allows him to re-enroll?
Just a second.
Okay.
Well, that's true, but it says as long as he completes 12 hours of credit each semester and achieves grades sufficient to re-enroll at such institution. Achieves grades.
I understand that.
So, that being the case, you are absolutely 100% correct
Thank you, ma'am.
that Ms. Stafford should return to you, under this statute, all the support that you paid after he turned 18. That's it. There's no issue. Now let's see if we can resolve it. How many children do you have, Mr. DeGuire?
Altogether, counting him, 4.
Is he the oldest?
Yes.
And I assume that from what your son says, you enjoy a good relationship with him.
Yes, it's been very good. Very good.
Great. And I assume you want him to be successful.
Yes, I do.
So why don't we do this? He's 19 years old. I don't think pursuant to this, and you're entitled to your money back, which you're going to get, but pursuant to your moral parental responsibility, not your legal parental responsibility, how about we do this? How about if your son enrolls in school and he successfully completes 12 credits, you give that money directly to him and he gives it to his mother towards the tuition when he shows you his GPA. Would that be satisfactory
That would be
to you,
satisfactory.
sir?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound fair to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound fair to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're starting school in September again?
Yes.
And your father wants you to succeed?
Yes, ma'am.
And your mother wants you to succeed?
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
live at home?
Yes.
When you show your dad your GPA in December, if you successfully complete 12 credits, and he's prepared to accept C's, right?
As long as he's passing.
Then he's going to be putting the money away, $467 a month. He's going to give that money to you, and your mother's going to expect you to turn that money over to her to defray the expenses of you living there, because that's what the statute seems to say. It doesn't provide for a hiatus. But I think from a moral perspective, if you've had a wonderful relationship with him up until this point, you want him to succeed. And if he needed an extra year to do it, I'm sure you want him to have a little bit of wiggle room. He did not do the right thing. And if he was blowing off school and certainly getting 24 credits of F's, suggests he could have been working in a gas station. Could have been working in Burger King. I mean, what did he have to be walking around school for? He wasn't even going. So he doesn't get any stars for that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,868. With your agreement, sir, that when you see that GPA that is at least a 2.0, he gets the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Fair?
That's fair.
Very good. We'll draw up an order. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Right group. Your Honor, this is case number 391 on the calendar in the matter of Flores Harrison versus Harrison. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Who is Miss Flores?
That's me, Your Honor.
Miss Flores, this is your daughter
Yes, ma'am.
and her husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your sister.
Correct.
You all claim that Miss Harrison made false charges to the Child Protective Services. Child Protective Services came into your home and removed your infant daughter for a period of 3 months.
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that because of these false charges, you were forced to hire a lawyer because you tried to get custody of the child from the state.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an interesting legal theory, one that I've never heard before. Ms. Harrison says her niece, the baby, was in fact born drug addicted with drugs in her system. And Child Protective Services became involved in your case well before any recent phone call, which she says she did not make, but she knows who did. So I guess my first question is to you. Was your daughter born with drugs in her system?
No, ma'am.
Did she test positive for drugs in her system?
No, ma'am.
Was Child Protective Services at the hospital at all when your daughter was born?
Yes, ma'am.
And were they at the hospital to see you?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they have a file on you?
Yes, ma'am.
So that your first foray to Child Protective Services had nothing to do with either the defendant or anybody else who might have called?
No, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you brought your daughter home, you were allowed to take her home from the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did she weigh when she was born?
6'8".
And how long was she in the hospital before you took her home?
We were there 2 days.
And after 2 days, you did take her home directly?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I stayed at my mom's for a little bit because I was nervous on what to do with the newborn baby.
Just a minute. Was the baby released to you or your mother? Was the baby released to
My
you or
mother.
your mother?
My mother.
I worked, lived, ate, and slept in the family court for 25 years. You think that I'm asking these questions because I don't know?
No, ma'am.
So your daughter was not released to you, but was released to your mother from the hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
And why do you think that was? I had children.
Because
I was a young mother and certainly inexperienced, but they didn't say you have to take the baby home to your mother's house. They said, goodbye, good luck, keep your fingers crossed, you know, hopefully these kids will survive. So why do you think the baby was released to your mother?
Because they claim that she tested positive for cocaine and marijuana, which she did not, Your Honor.
You mean the claim was that she tested, but you said that the tests were wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. You have the papers that show me the tests were wrong?
We have my drug test. We finally got the copy of it.
Let me see it. And let me see the drug test that caused the child to be sent home with you.
That would be it.
Well, it says presumptive positive.
For opiates which were given to her in the hospital during the birth.
It says presumptive positive.
Your Honor, I had Demerol and epidural. That drug test was taken after I had my daughter.
Now, you tell me when the second alleged contact with Child Protective Services was from your sister-in-law. You believe it's from your sister-in-law. You have no proof that it's from your sister-in-law.
There was an argument between these two one day on March 31st. All of us were together. We were at a friend of mine's house. David was to meet us there. He was at work, and he showed up, and he was on the phone with his sister, and they were having a huge argument.
What were you having an argument about, David?
She had called and said that she was pregnant with twins.
Put your hand down. Your sister said she was pregnant with twins.
That's
Go ahead,
correct.
and?
So after we talked about that and what was going to happen, I called my Aunt Melissa to let her know because, you know, my Aunt Melissa knows everything in the family, what's going on.
So your
She's
sister,
basically
your sister is confiding in you, and you called your Aunt Melissa.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So after we hung up with my sister, my Aunt Melissa called Diane and talked about it.
Our aunt.
Our aunt.
Who didn't know about your plan.
And the reason why I told him that was because I told him prior to that, 6 months before that I don't want to talk to him anymore. And he called me bragging about, oh, well, I'm going to get a car and blah, 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 blah. And I was at my place of employment. And I told him, I said, I don't trust you. I don't want to talk to you. I told you, don't call me anymore. And then I said, you want to know why I don't trust you? And he said, why? And I said, because I'm pregnant with twins. And just to see what he would do, he went and he told all of my family members everything, and then we got into a fight. He
Are you
called me
pregnant
back.
with twins?
No.
That was a good one.
I see. See?
That was a good one. So that made you look pretty.
I did it. Sorry.
That made you look pretty foolish.
I sure did.
Well, serves you right.
And that's why we fought.
Serves you right. You were a gossip. So she got you good. Anyway, go ahead. So then they got into a big fight.
She continued to call for at least 8 hours that day. She was yelling and screaming. Everybody in the room could hear it.
She was yelling and screaming.
That she was going to call CPS and have the baby taken away. She said this, I don't know how many times the phone calls went on until 9:15 that night.
Okay. When did the Child Protective Services come to your house?
The next morning. They told us the phone call was placed at 9:30 p.m. that night.
Okay. And?
They said that there was a report that they had been out partying, doing cocaine and heroin, and had left the baby alone for over a period of 3 hours, that there were dog feces on the floor, that the house had cockroaches, and was a total mess. I have proof that none of that is true.
Whose house did they come to?
To their apartment.
Well, I assume they looked around your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
And if they looked around your apartment, they saw that it was in good order.
Yes, ma'am.
So then they wouldn't have taken the baby.
Yes, ma'am.
They had to investigate.
Well, they could investigate, but they don't necessarily take the child unless there's a prior history.
We had to immediately go to emergency hearing and take drug tests, which proved that we weren't doped up the night before.
So then my question is, why was the child out of your custody for 3 months?
Because they said that I tested positive for marijuana, which I didn't when they gave me a drug test at the hospital.
They said that you tested positive for marijuana when?
At the birth of the child. At the birth of the child.
Did you do a hair follicle test? Or
Yes, ma'am. We have all those results.
Can I see them, please?
Mm-hmm.
What's all about recovery?
That was where I had to take my drug test after the child was removed. The part where it mentions that my hair test and everything came out, because we can't actually have records of those because the court ordered it, is in these court transcripts that we brought along.
Can I see it, please? What?
I just wanted to say they know how to pass drug tests because my brother was on probation for 6 months and he used a cleaner and he was able to pass his whole 6 months through probation. So he knows how to clean out his system.
Well, you may clean out your system, but you can't
You don't
clean out
clean
your
out a
hair.
hair follicle test.
Good try.
And can I say one more thing?
Shh. I don't see where this says that a hair follicle test came up negative.
That's them saying that all my
That's-
tests
it-
were
the
negative.
transcript
It says that they came up negative. Right.
Listen to me. We don't believe the child was in any kind of jeopardy when she showed up. We don't believe the mother was under the influence, and we did a drug test to prove that. That doesn't say it was a hair follicle
They do
test.
both at the same time.
Listen to me. That's not what this says.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm telling you, what she did was disgusting.
And later today,
I was actually under heavy drug use at
So whose fault is that? Mine?
No,
Whose fault is that?
it's mine.
Good.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Flores, her daughter Christina Harrison, and husband David claim David's sister, Diane Harrison, told CPS that Christina and David's baby was born drug addicted.
Now, did you call Child Protective Services?
No.
Who did?
One of my friends. One of
Why?
actually me and Christina's mutual friends.
Did the person call from your home?
No, from my cell phone.
From your cell phone?
Because David was talking to a bunch of people when we got into an argument saying, I'm going to, you know, certain things about fighting.
Stop clicking your nails.
Sorry. He was saying certain things to certain people that were very upset, and he was making threats to me and to my friends, and that's why that happened.
He was making threats to you and your friends about what?
Because we had gotten into an argument.
Well, what kind of threats was he making?
That he was going to kick my butt and he was going to do something to me and stuff like that.
You're absolutely right. She called because she was vindictive.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right. You did the wrong thing, you were a gossip, whatever. But her phone call to CPS, and what she did was she either did it herself or she furnished the phone for this friend to do it for her.
It's like buying a hit assassin.
For her, was done vindictively. Because if it wasn't done vindictively, the timing was miraculously convenient for a time when the two of you had a fight. And that's pretty awful to have done. Awful.
But I didn't do it.
Listen,
I know that's your opinion.
You may explain to me that your girlfriend did it from your phone in your presence because you gave her the phone. What I'm saying to you is you were responsible for the call being placed to Child Protective Services, and you were responsible for doing it over nothing that had to do with the welfare of the child, only what had to do with the fact that you were angry with your brother. And that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And you caused everybody a great deal of grief, and you're a big baby. Who are you?
I'm her mother.
You're her mother? I'm telling you, what she did was disgusting. Now, if she had been concerned about the baby, and if she had made this phone call a month before, 2 months before, when there was nothing that was transpiring between her and her brother, I would say, listen, you have a right to do that if you have a concern. Put your hand down. But she called because she had a fight with them, and because her brother threatened to kick her, and because she said, and put your hand down, and because she said, oh yeah, I'm going to get even with you. What?
Well, I would just like to say that...
Stand up if you'd like to say something.
Even if their mutual friend made the phone call, the mutual friend was also angry with Christina. And evidently they had been drinking, whatever, talking, blah, blah, blah. And the girl who was angry with Christina...
Who was drinking?
My daughter...
I want you to be quiet. Who was drinking?
When my son and my daughter got into an argument, they had gotten onto this argument over the cell phone. Like, they've argued since, like...
I asked you a question.
Well, I'm
Who
gonna
had been
explain.
drinking?
Evidently, it was my daughter and a group of her friends.
That's right.
And the friend who has evidently some type of anger towards Christina used my daughter's cell phone to call.
That's baloney. Were you there?
No, I wasn't there,
Sit
but
down.
that's what I was told.
Sit down. By who? By her?
Yeah.
Sit down. Your daughter inspired this call because she had a fight with her brother. And the fact that they were drinking was even worse. You see, your daughter was going to say he was drinking, but that's not what you said. You said, put your hand down. You said my daughter was drinking with a group of her friends. Put your hand down. That's what you just said. You're absolutely right.
But
She's a
he was on bars.
vicious, vindictive, and what she did was cause a great deal of distress to you and your family for no reason whatsoever. And the only reason she did it is because she was angry and maybe a little loaded. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
After Diane called CPS and the baby got taken away, his mom calls and says, You need a DNA test. That's not your baby.
Christina, she's selfish, and she just wants to take my brother away from me.
It was a spiteful phone call.
You can't just, because of spite, put a burden on somebody like that.
Instead of calling, oh my God, your baby got taken away, I'm so sorry, it's get a DNA test.
She wouldn't let him hang out and see us and party.
When you have kids, you have to grow up.
I want to move up in life, not stay around partying.
Time heals all wounds, maybe we'll be able to rekindle something.
It's over, I'm past, I've moved on, let it go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robertson versus Young. Step forward.
23-year-old Stephanie Robertson is suing ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Derek Young, for a $500 loan. Derek claims that Stephanie is a cocaine dealer.
Miss Robertson, for some reason that, quite frankly, after seeing the two of you, I don't understand, this used to be your boyfriend.
Right.
And according to your complaint, you loaned him $500 to fix his car. He was supposed to pay you back, and he didn't. Then he took off for a while. And Mr. Young acknowledges that there was some $500 amount of money, but he says it was drug money.
That's not true.
He said you were selling drugs, and you were giving the drugs to him to sell because he was a drug addict. You were not addicted to drugs. That's your story. She was not a user. She was a seller. She was giving you the drugs to sell because you had that circle of friends because you were an addict.
Right.
And you were using the drugs yourself.
Correct.
And she should have known that you were using the drugs yourself because you're an addict.
Was an addict.
And you don't owe her any money.
I don't believe I owe her anything.
The money I lent to him was a birthday present from my dad.
That's your father?
Yeah.
You gave her money for her birthday?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
What?
That was actually not birthday money. It was her college fund money.
Oh, so you know about the $500?
Well, no, she bought the drugs with the college fund money, and then she was trying to get me to sell the drugs for her.
Okay, so her dad gave her $500 from her college fund, and she bought drugs with that money.
The money was from the state.
The money was from?
The state.
State from where?
Of Michigan.
For what?
Michigan assessment test. They give you $500 for college if you pass it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
or if
great.
you get high scores.
Did you get that money from the state of Michigan? It's easy enough to find out.
The money was from my dad.
Did you get $500 from the state of Michigan for taking a
I
test?
got a scholarship from the state of Michigan.
For how much?
It was like $1,500.
Did you get it in cash?
No, it was a scholarship.
Okay, fine. So tell me about this $500.
He wanted to borrow $500 from me to fix his car. His transmission went out or something.
Well, tell me how it happened. Tell me what he said to you, what you said to him.
He told me his transmission was out or something. He needed to fix his car. At the time, we were still getting along. We wanted to go on like a road trip. Do
you want to be someplace else other than here?
No.
Well, then, do you think that you could tell me this story in a cogent manner so that I can understand it and we can move on to some more pressing business? My father gave me birthday money on what date?
I don't remember the exact date. It was probably...
Well, when's your birthday? Do you know that?
May 20th.
And when did you give the money to him?
I think it was in July. He signed a promissory note, July 20th, 2006.
You have a note?
Yeah.
Let me see it. Yes, it would be the answer, Miss Robertson.
Yes, sorry.
Did you use that scholarship money to go to college?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Stay in school. Now, Mr. Young, I have a note here, signed by you, that says, I, Derek Young, declare, D-E-C-L-A-I-R, that I owe Stephanie $500 with the dollar sign in the wrong place.
At that time...
Huh? What?
I was actually under heavy drug use.
So whose fault is that? Mine?
No.
Whose fault is that?
It's mine.
Good.
And I'm clean.
Pay you the money.
But there was never any money to begin with. It was all cocaine.
It's possible. How do I know that? It says that you owe her the money.
No. I was under heavy drug use. I don't...
Come on. Come on. Stop it. I'm going to say it one more time. Then you're all leaving. Do you understand?
I believe that I was in the right state of mind. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Happens to me a lot, sir, that I sometimes feel as if I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I mean...
Like right now. Like this moment. I say to myself, you spent 2 decades preparing yourself educationally to be a judge. Another 30, perhaps, life skills and everything else. And here I am adjudicating this nonsense. with somebody who's telling me I don't know what I was doing when I signed that note because I was probably on drugs?
No, I was definitely on drugs.
How do you know?
Because...
On what date did you sign the note?
I don't know.
See, so how do you know that you were on drugs on the day you signed the note?
I was a heroin addict.
What?
I was a heroin addict and a coke user.
So maybe at that time when you were a heroin addict and a coke user, you said to her, I need $500 to fix my car. If you don't know what you were doing.
I didn't have a car.
You didn't have a car?
No.
You never had a car?
I sold my car before any of this happened.
Well, on what date did you sell your car?
Oh, I don't know.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Do me a favor. Get them out of here as quickly as possible.
Well, we came in. Parties are excused. You may step out. All rise. Yes, case number 242 on the calendar in the matter of Blanco versus Trujillo.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Why don't you folks have a seat?
Ms. Blanco, Mr. Trujillo was your boyfriend.
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that he co-signed for a car for you.
Yes.
The car was titled in his name?
And mine.
But he was on the loan?
Yes.
You couldn't get credit?
Both of us were on the loan.
But you couldn't get credit yourself?
Yes.
You broke up. And the agreement, when he agreed to co-sign for you, from what I understand, was as follows. He would co-sign for you, and you would make regular payments on the car, timely, that you would maintain insurance on the car, that you would pay for his cell phone, maintain his cell phone. Anything else, sir?
Medical insurance.
And keep him on your medical insurance, pay for his medical insurance.
Yes.
That was in exchange for him obligating himself on the car loan. You broke up. According to Mr. Trujillo, you were late in many of your car payments, which damaged his credit.
Yes.
In addition, although he doesn't say it, you do, you canceled his cell phone and canceled his medical insurance.
In January of '07, yes. This year.
Whatever. You canceled his medical insurance. There was no time limit on this contract.
It wasn't really an agreement that I was going to pay his cell phone insurance. It was more of a blackmail, and I have emails to prove that.
What do you mean? Just a second. I'll see you in a second. But it's my understanding, even from you, in your complaint, that we came to an agreement, this is what you swore to, that he would co-sign my car for me, and I would pay for his cell phone plan along with adding him to my medical insurance. That's what you say.
Yes.
So you canceled his cell phone and you canceled his medical insurance. You fell behind in your car payments, and he repossessed the car and turned it back in. Mm-hmm. Is that what you did with it, or are you driving it?
I currently have the car.
You currently have the car, and
Yes.
you've made up the car payments.
Right, I write it up to date.
You want all the money that you put into the car.
Not necessarily all the money, the down payment that I put into and the payments, some of the payments that I did, and for insurance and the cell phone bill that I did remove them from it, but it wasn't really an agreement. And I have emails that show that it was more of, if I take them off, that the car deal would be done and deal with.
Well, that's true. You know, I don't understand, Ms. Blanco. If you made that agreement with him when he co-signed for the car for you, which is what you say in your complaint, and you subsequently break up. So you get the dates. When did you break up?
In September of '06.
And when was the car purchased?
July 22nd of '06.
And when did you take him off the cell phone?
The cell phone, I took him off in this February of '07.
And when did you cut him off of your health insurance?
They didn't cancel that until August 31st of this year, after he took the vehicle and everything.
When did you cancel him from the health insurance? Not when they took him off. When did you cancel him?
When I told him June of this year.
June?
Of '07.
And he repossessed the car?
June 10th.
Which he lied about repoing the car. He did not tell me anything.
He doesn't have to tell you anything. How many times were you late on car payments?
4 times. But I have proof from VW that I called them, everything, we stayed in touch.
I don't care whether you stayed in touch. What does that mean, Ms. Blanco, that you stayed in touch?
Because they cut my hours from work. It was very unexpected. On March 10th, we had a meeting and they told us, hey, we're cutting hours by Monday. I went from working 40-plus hours to 32 hours. There was no way I could come up with the money. I was trying my hardest to get a second job, and Renee knew about this. He knew that I was trying to get a second job. I kept in touch with them every single time and said, hey, I only paid $110 this time. We're going to do it.
Ms. Blanco, you have to be a grown-up, sweetheart.
I was
Listen
now.
to me. You can't visit your problems on him. The fact that you were working with Volkswagen and they don't want your old car back, they want to work with you as long as they're going to get their money, right? That's one thing. That doesn't mean it's not reported to his credit as
I
the co-signer.
understand that.
The fact that you lost hours impacted on him.
He
You
knew
understand that.
I understand
That's his
that.
complaint, because he has a counterclaim. He says you ruined his credit because for 4 times, and I don't care if it was 4 times or 3 times or 2 times, if you don't make your car payment on time, the people who were responsible on that loan are going to be penalized. That was him. He has an absolute right to repossess the car for that alone. In addition to the fact that you had a contract with him, a verbal contract, he would obligate himself on the car if you would maintain him on his cell phone and your insurance. Well, after a while, you're not his girlfriend anymore. You say, I'm going to cancel that cell phone. I don't want to pay for a cell phone where he's calling other people, and I don't want to pay for his health insurance anymore. I'm canceling it.
It wasn't out of a malicious act to
Doesn't have to be
remove him.
It doesn't have to be malicious. That was your contract with him.
But it wasn't a contract.
Yes, it was. That's what you said. You
I
said
have
it
emails
was an
from him.
agreement. We came to an agreement that he would co-sign my car for me and I would pay for his cell phone along with adding him to my health insurance. You want me to see what you signed?
I know. I circled that agreement part. It wasn't...
That's what you signed.
I know.
That's what you swore to.
It wasn't an
That's what you
agreement.
said happened. That's what he says happened. You
It
may not
wasn't
want to
it's-
revisit that now.
Your Honor, there's an email here that shows the only reason I kept that
I want to look
going
at the email.
was because
she
of
doesn't
this.
understand that the email is going to support exactly what I said.
I know.
Yeah, he says to you, you keep me on your insurance and your cell phone plan, and we'll keep the same car deal. That's what he says.
But it wasn't the car deal. The reason why it says car deal is because when we first signed up for the car, we signed up on July 22nd. A couple days after that, the guy that we did the car loan with called us in and said, hey, we have a better interest rate for you. If you come in, we could redo the contract. So I got sick a couple days after that, so we couldn't go right away. I had surgery, everything was fine. We went back and redid the contract, but before we redid the contract, we got into an argument, and I said, you know what, we have to take this out of my name, or out of your name, put it into my own name, now that, this is not how it's supposed to be. And in that email it says,
Ms. Blanco, was the car in both your names?
Yes.
Was the loan in both your names?
Yes.
Do you have proof, sir, that your credit score went from one thing to another?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Sure. This is the before and the after with the credit scores highlighted.
I have the proof of, or not proof, but when we first co-signed the car, they did a credit check on us, and I have the credit score that they gave us on his and
Not
mine.
us, him.
And mine. Both of ours.
Just his.
Oh, you want
What was his?
His was 776.
Now it's 630. You know, when you walk out of the showroom, the car is diminished by 20%?
Yes.
So he had to take over a car that was now worth 20% less because you ruined his credit, in addition to cutting off his cell phone and insurance. Forget that. So you don't get anything for that, Ms. Blanco? Nothing. You should have kept up your end of the deal. If you kept
It wasn't an agreement. I know that it says it's agreement, but when we were signing it upstairs, I circled it and said it wasn't really an agreement.
Whether it was or it was not, you cannot ruin the co-signatory's credit rating because you had a problem with your job. That's not his problem.
He knew that, and we were trying. We
Listen to
both
me.
wanted to make payments on it, but they didn't take credit card.
No.
And I
Listen,
tried
Ms.
my hardest
Blanco,
to get a
stop
second job.
crying. Did you buy a new car?
No, I have not.
Why not?
I'm saving up for it.
Good. That's what you
Because I
should
don't
have
want
done.
payments.
That's what you should have done.
And
in
that's
the
what we
beginning.
wanted to do, and I wanted to do, and I have proof that I tried my hardest to get my car to pass smog so that I didn't have to get a new car. Chucky was also there as when I was searching for a new car. I did not want payments whatsoever, and he convinced me to get a new car and get payments.
You are a very strong young lady, and you don't seem to me like somebody who's shy. You got into difficulty. He had a right to take back the car.
Not the way he did, though.
Listen.
I
I'm
was
not
at
saying
work, Your Honor.
I'm not saying he was Prince Charming. He had
I
a
know.
right to take back the car.
But I was at work, Your Honor, when he came, and I had lunch with my boss, and he just took the car. He did not warn me. After lying about having the spare key.
I'm not the moral police, Ms. Blanco. I'm here to decide a legal issue. The legal issue is, did he have the right to take the car? Absolutely. Did he have the right to sell the car? Absolutely. Does
But
he
she
have
has
the
the
right
right.
to keep the car and make the payments? Absolutely. That is his prerogative because you ruined his credit. You have no right to do that. You have to be a big grown-up girl and not say because I lost my job, I had surgery, I had other things that happened to me, and I this and I have that. It's not my fault. He took the car the way I was having lunch with my boss. He didn't give me notice. You breached the contract to make the payments in a timely manner. May not have been of your own volition. It may have been because, I don't know, the sky was falling and henny penny and whatever other reason it was, but that can't impact on him. He's not your boyfriend anymore. He's not your boyfriend. He's not your father. He's not your brother. He has no moral obligation to you whatsoever. Now, you're driving the car, sir?
No, it's currently garaged at my mother's house.
Why?
Because I have nowhere to put it at. I go to San Francisco State, and I have no
Well,
garage.
who's going to drive the car?
My mom's driving it right now.
Oh, your mom's driving it. Good. So you have a nice car, right?
Right.
Good. So what are you complaining about?
By the time I sell the car to my supervisor here, I will have lost $5,000.
Well, you should have sold it to her sooner.
She doesn't have.
You
She's going to
showed
apply
it-
for a loan.
You should have sold it to her sooner. That's not her problem. That's your problem.
Okay.
You took back the car. Car is in good running order.
Yes.
And now you're paying for it, and you're going to sell it to somebody else.
To her.
And right now your mother's driving it.
Right.
Very nice. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Okay.
So is your claim. You're not entitled to any money back. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, as the Judge Judy said, she needs to grow up,
He's got a lot of issues to take care of, a lot of them,
be an adult about things, and pay her bills on time.
before he gets into a relationship like this again.
Lesson learned. Don't sign for anybody.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kruger versus Perks, step forward.
Carolyn Kruger is suing her brother, Kevin Perks, for his share of their mother's funeral. Carolyn says Kevin is the only sibling who refuses to pay.
Miss Kruger, Mr. Perks is your brother.
Yes, he is.
And your claim is that he is responsible for a portion of your mother's funeral expenses.
That's correct.
Mr. Perks says he is not responsible for any portion of your mother's funeral expenses. When did your mother pass away?
April 22nd, 2007.
And it is my understanding that her primary asset was a life insurance policy. Is
That's
that correct?
correct.
Did she have any other assets other than this life insurance policy?
She had a few $100s in a bank account that I used to pay for the nursing home.
Other than the life insurance policy, did she have a home? Did she have a car?
No.
Did she have bonds? Anything else?
No.
Life insurance policy?
Yes.
And how much was the life insurance policy?
I don't know the total amount. We each got a portion of it. It was $2,082.74 a piece times 8, so a little over $17,000.
And she had been paying on this life insurance policy. I assume it was from work? Or...
Correct. It came out of her pension.
So it was a pension?
Right.
And it is also my understanding from your complaint that there was no named beneficiary on the policy.
That's correct.
So far, are we correct on that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So, only asset is a $17,000 life insurance policy, correct?
Yes.
You have 7 siblings.
That's correct.
Correct. Your mother did not have a will.
No, she did not.
So you decided, I assume, that you had been taking care of her business.
Correct.
You didn't object to that.
I didn't object. I didn't know I was objecting to because she never consulted me on anything.
When you went to visit her, did you take charge of her medical care, of overseeing her stay in the nursing home? Did you take care of her other business, or did you just go and visit her?
I just went and visited her.
So you knew somebody had to be taking care of that.
That is correct.
And who did you think was taking care of that business?
Carolyn.
There we go. And you didn't object to that.
No, I did not.
Perfect. Now, you did receive a portion of this life insurance, did you not?
That is correct.
How much did you receive?
$2,076 and some change. I don't know the exact amount.
When your mother passed away in April of 2007, did she pass away in the same town where you live?
That's yes.
Did you go to the funeral?
Yes.
Did you put on a suit?
Yes.
You married?
Fiance.
Did your fiance go with you?
Yes, she did.
Do you have children?
Yes, we do.
Did you bring your children to the funeral?
Yes.
So they went to their grandmother's funeral.
Yes.
Were there flowers at the funeral?
Yes.
Was there a grave site that you went to?
Yes.
Did you ever stop to say to yourself, who's paying for this? Mr. Parks,
No.
did you ever stop to say to yourself, who's paying for this?
Yes.
Did you think the burial fairy was paying for it?
No.
No. So you knew that somebody had to be paying for it.
That's correct.
Okay. And who did you think? Put your hand down. Who'd you think that was?
The life insurance policy.
Right. Look how smart you are. You thought that her life insurance policy was paying for it, right?
That's correct.
Put your hand down. It did. All your brothers and sisters kicked in from the life insurance policy to pay for the funeral, except you. That's what the case is all about. Now, your sister could very easily have said, I am going to take all the proceeds of this life insurance policy, and I'm going to pay the $6,000 for Mom's funeral, and whatever is left over, I'm going to give it to my brothers and sisters. Right?
That's correct.
Well, that's what you thought happened. Instead, your sister decided to do what she considered the right thing, which was name each of you as a beneficiary on the life insurance policy. You all got your money, and everybody divided the $6,000 or whatever it was for the funeral and sent her a check for their portion. Go!
Well, Your Honor, the life insurance policy, normally most life insurance policy, they have a provision, or the funeral home has an agreement where you can have a form filled out to have the life insurance policy paid for it, the funeral expense itself. She never told me about this expense whatsoever. A week after I got the check, I never heard anything from her, never agreed to it, never paid anything. She didn't consult me about it, nothing.
So? And your point would be?
That I should have been consulted further on...
I'm consulting you right now. I'm consulting you. Who's supposed to pay for your mother's funeral? Not you. You have no legal obligation to pay for your mother's funeral. None. But you have no right to accept full proceeds of a life insurance policy, which by law is supposed to pay for her funeral expenses before it's dispersed to any beneficiary. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. So it was done a little bit backwards. Instead of taking the money out and then put your hand down. Does it sound like you're losing?
No, I'm sorry.
So instead of taking the $6,000 out and paying for the policy and then distributing it to you, she distributed it to the siblings and then says, okay, brothers and sisters, now send me a check. It's the same thing. Do you understand?
Yes.
You don't have to be consulted about that, sir. This one wants to say something.
During the funeral and everything that was at the funeral, as far as the casket, the flowers, anything, Kevin was not allowed or invited to pick any of that stuff out.
Was he invited to pick out who the nurses were going to be at his mother?
Your Honor.
Pay attention to what I'm saying to you. Was he consulted, and did he make himself responsible for his mother's care in the nursing home where she was?
He had no choice.
Of course he had a choice. Did he have a choice to pick you?
Yes.
That he had a choice to pick where his mother went and who took care of her and participating in her care. He chose not to do that. Just as he chose, madam, listen to me very carefully, he chose to let somebody else take the responsibility for picking out a casket, for picking out flowers. It was not as if he wasn't invited to the funeral. He went with you and his children. He just made himself dumb, which I have a feeling isn't much of a stretch. You owe your sister your share of your mother's funeral. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. How much was it?
$750.
Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out of Bonilla versus Akkad.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
How old are you, Mr. Bonilla?
I'm 19 years old now.
And where do you live?
I live in Pomona, California.
What do you do?
I work at a pizza place and I go to school. I deliver pizza. The reason I'm going to school right now and working is because I had a scholarship for football, but I got hurt, so I'm trying to get back into it.
On what night did you have this altercation that resulted in your being allegedly assaulted by the defendant?
It was January 29th.
Of 2011?
2011, yes, ma'am.
Were you drinking? Is not an answer.
It was a 21st birthday party. I took about a sip.
Listen to me. Were you drinking?
Yes.
See how easy that was?
Yes.
At what time had you started drinking?
I got there late. I got there at 11.
Listen to me. I want you to understand that I raised now 5 children past their 19th birthday and am involved with 1 grandchild who is past his 19th birthday. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So on Saturday night, the 29th of January, what time did you and your buddies start to drink?
11:30.
Where?
It was at the birthday party.
Whose birthday party?
It was Marcus' 21st birthday party.
What were you drinking?
I drank a beer. Less than a beer. I had work that night, so.
And then what happened?
Then I was with my girlfriend, hanging out with my girlfriend. She told me that there was chaos outside. I run around.
She told you that what?
That there was something going on outside with my friends. I run outside. Clearly my friends are outnumbered. Clearly outnumbered, like the whole party was.
How many people did you arrive with?
I went with my girlfriend.
So just the 2 of you went?
Yes. And I met with my friends there.
How many of your friends were there?
4. 4 of my friends.
And how old were your friends?
They are a year older than me. Some my age.
19 and 20?
Yes, ma'am.
All underage?
Yes, ma'am.
Drinking. Were they at the party first?
Yes.
So they were there before you got there?
Yes, they were.
The girlfriend? Mm-hmm. Up and over. Your name is?
Michelle Alcantara.
Michelle, you saw something going on outside at the party?
I overheard his friend Alex going outside, and they were getting into an argument, and they said they were going to take it outside.
You overheard his friend Alex getting into an argument with whom?
I have no idea who the guy was.
Somebody who?
His friends.
He was getting an argument with me.
So one of your friends was getting into an argument with you?
Correct.
And who are you?
I'm Jason Bourdonnais, the owner of the house.
Jason, you own the house, and why was his friend getting into an argument with you?
His friend punched one of my friends in the face, so I asked him to leave. I escorted him. It happened in the backyard. So I escorted him out to the front yard, asking them to leave.
When you say escorted him, you grabbed him?
No, he was walking with another friend of his, and I walked him out through the side of the back door into the front yard, and right then and there they said they were going to leave.
You mean the two guys together?
Yeah, and a couple scattered their other friends. This was even before 11 o'clock, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What time was it?
Probably like 10:45 going on to 11.
Okay. So you had asked a couple of his friends to leave,
Correct.
and you overheard something.
It was not like that.
Tell me what you heard.
It was way more chaotic than that.
When you say it was way more chaotic, tell me.
Not, I escorted him to leave. No. They were being verbally abusive. We're going to fight.
Can I say something as well?
No. I have the owner of the house telling me that he's kicking out of a party two guys. That's what I got so far. And there's no quarrel with the fact that he was the proprietor, either the renter or the owner of the house. Is that right?
Right.
So he has a right to tell anybody to leave that he wants to. So he was telling your two friends to leave.
Yes.
And I don't care how he was saying it. I assume that he was not saying it nicely because I assumed that there was some problem.
He just walked about.
So you went inside, found him, and told him that there was trouble outside?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do, Mr. Bonilla?
I went outside to go take a look at it.
And what did you find when you went outside?
Someone I had never seen before. It wasn't him. Someone I never seen before. He was verbally, coming at me, disrespecting me, and he continued.
No, tell me. It's important that even though it's hearsay, it creates the moment. This person that you don't know and that's not here said what to you?
Do you want me to say the exact words?
Yes.
Yes. He said, "You get out of here. Take all your friends and leave."
Okay. So somebody else was telling you
Yes.
and your friends to leave.
Exactly. And that is what I did.
Just a second. Somebody was telling you and your friends to leave.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then he continued to walk towards me. And this was on the street already. It was not in his property. This was on the street. He continued to walk towards me.
This person who you don't know?
That I don't know. He continued to walk towards me. I tried to back up. I wasn't really trying to fight. And then he got closer to me, so he swung, and I protected myself. That's when I saw...
When you say protected yourself, he swung. He swung. How did you protect yourself?
I hit him.
You hit him?
Yes, ma'am.
So he swung and missed.
Yeah, he missed.
And you hit him?
Yes.
What happened?
1 second.
What happened next, Mr. Bonilla?
On the corner of my right eye, I clearly see Amir sprinting, and I clearly saw him hit me with a bottle on the right side of my head. I have pictures here, and I have the medical bills, whatever you want to see.
I don't want to see anything yet.
Okay.
So you punched this person.
Yes.
Where did you punch him?
In the face.
And what happened when you punched him?
She fell back.
Did he fall onto the ground?
Yes.
And so you punched him in the face.
Yes.
He fell to the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
This person who was telling everybody to leave.
He told me specifically.
He told you specifically to leave. And then after you punched this person to the ground, and you don't know who that person was, whether he owned the house or whether he didn't own the house.
He didn't live there. I know that.
He didn't live there.
No.
Then you saw this man come up to you out of the corner of your eye.
Yes.
And hit you with a bottle.
Yes.
And that's why you're here.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's not what happened.
Ball is in your court.
All right. On January 29th,
during the birthday party, there was a fight in the backyard with his friend and one of my friends. I witnessed Jason over here, the owner of the house, walked them out through the side of the house, and I saw everybody just following them because...
You mean everybody?
Like everybody in the backyard that was around where the initial fight happened.
There was a fist fight.
Yeah, his friend punched one of my friends. That's the whole reason he tried to kick him out.
Yeah.
And he tried to kick him and all his friends out, everybody that was causing problems. As soon as they got to the street, his friend took his shirt off and turned around and tried to fight my friend Jason right here. And when that happened, my friend that I was walking out with ran out to the middle of the street. And first thing, as soon as he stepped onto the street, the plaintiff over here hit him a couple times, got on top of him when he was on his back and was punching him. That's where I ran up and I punched him. I did not use a bottle.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Can I show you a picture, man, please? You can tell me that a fist can do this? I'll show you the picture.
I saw him hit him with a bottle.
What were you doing out in the street?
Watching my boyfriend, of course.
Sit.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Bonilla says fellow partygoer Amir Akkad hit him over the head with a bottle. Amir claims he punched Jason when he saw him fighting his friend.
Go ahead.
I punched him. The plaintiff stood up, tackled me into a garage door. We were in the corner of the garage door. We were exchanging blows till we got separated, and that's where the fight ended for me. The cops came right after, and I went home. I have no idea what happened with him after that.
But his friends initiated the fight because it all started by the time when I walked out the street with his friends, hit me over the head with the bottle and sliced me across the face with the bottle.
Yeah,
that's when the fight broke out. And by that time, it was already like 14-on-1.
Throughout the whole
he
time,
had more than friends than what he said.
Left and right. There was multiple bottles being thrown up in the air. He got hit twice with bottles.
Mr. Bonilla.
Yes.
How old was Marcus?
Marcus, it was his 21st birthday. Can I say my side of the story now? Because that's completely false.
You just told me your side of the story. You told me that you were walking outside, somebody followed you, somebody that you didn't know, came up to you. Let me repeat what you told me.
Yeah, I understand what
Just a second. You understand what you told me. I let you tell your side of the story, then I would let them tell their side of the story. So now I have to decide who I believe.
Can I show you a picture, man, please? You can tell me that a fist can do this? I'll show you the picture.
I saw him hit him with a bottle. I did.
What were you doing out in the street?
Watching my boyfriend, of course.
Sit. No, stand. As a matter of fact, I have another couple of questions for you. Take your hands out of your pockets. Where was your boyfriend when you went inside and told him that there was trouble outside?
We were in the backyard.
What was he doing when you went over to tell him that there was trouble outside?
Just hanging out there.
He was just there doing nothing.
He was there when the first fight happened.
Just a second.
This was
just a second. Just a second. So let me understand. There's chaos going on outside.
Yes.
You came with your boyfriend.
Yes.
Why would you want to get him involved in what's going on out front?
Those are his friends, and we were going to tell them to leave.
Now
Let's
sit.
leave.
Your Honor, his defendant that you see right there clearly told my mom and my sister that it was his friend that hit me with the bottle.
Just a second.
That's a lie.
Just one second.
So how do I find out where you live? How do I find out where you live?
Obviously, because you're at my house at the party,
Listen to
you
me.
just showed
Mr.
up.
Bonilla.
Come on, man.
Mr. Bonilla.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me carefully, sir. What he says was that you just didn't punch this guy once and he fell back.
I didn't hit him on the ground. I'm clear about that. I did not hit him on the ground. I did not get on top of him and start pounding him.
How many times did you punch him?
I hit him about twice and he fell.
Oh, well, just a second. First it was, well, just a second. First, you punched him once and he fell back. Now, maybe you punched him twice and he fell back. Which one?
He hit him.
Which one is it, Mr. Bonilla, once or twice?
Twice. I'm going to go with the larger amount.
Then why did you tell me 5 minutes ago that you hit him once?
I didn't know you clearly wanted me to tell you I punched him twice.
What does it have to do with what I want you to tell me? What I want you to tell me is the truth, not when you get crossed. Now I'm going to take a look at your pictures.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't look like a fist to me.
Thank you.
Now, I'll see your hospital record.
Okay. There's that, and there's the bill that it came out to.
Had you ever seen the defendant before?
Yeah, we all went to school together.
Did you ever have a problem with him before?
He went to a little gathering at my girlfriend's house, and he disrespected my girlfriend, started calling her names, so we kicked him out. About a year ago. Yes, him.
Him?
Yeah.
I told her to calm down, and she was drunk and started yelling at me. That's when him and his friends came and surrounded me, asked me to leave. Her father, who was my football coach, came out and told me to leave, and I just walked away, just like that.
But did you not say it's her house? She has the right to tell him to leave, right?
Like you did. I was leaving.
One.
I was leaving till you kicked me out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's the name of your friend, sir, who he assaulted?
Brenton.
Do you know Brenton, Mr. Bonilla?
No, ma'am.
Had you ever seen him before?
Other than when he bumped into my friend randomly for no reason, no.
What do you mean he bumped into your friend randomly for no reason? When was that?
In the backyard. The reason for the whole fight?
Oh, you see, things are becoming crisp for me now, Mr. Bonilla. So this person that you punched to the ground had an altercation with a friend of yours that you witnessed in the backyard.
It was him and some other guy.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how many people were at the party?
There's a lot.
A lot.
Probably like 100, 150.
So of all those people, the person that, what did he do, bumped into?
It wasn't him. He was with the guy that bumped my friend. He bumped my friend for no reason. I was
bumped your friend for no reason?
His friend sucker punched my friend.
That was before.
Now sit. You see, what I'm trying to get at, Mr. Bonilla, is sometimes when there's a fight, somebody gets the worst of the bargain. This time, apparently, it was you. Or maybe it was Brenton who you pummeled to the ground. And there had been an altercation that you witnessed before, so there was a reason for you to assault him. There was a reason. And then you got the worst of the bargain by him, who you had had trouble with in the past. But I'm not sure who the troublemaker is. You see, I'm just not positive.
Your Honor,
Mr.
please.
Bonilla, I'm not positive who the troublemaker is, because it's clear to me that you assaulted one of his friends and that you were injured during the course of that assault. There's no question about that. I don't believe your girlfriend, by the way. I don't believe your girlfriend that she witnessed you getting hit by a bottle. He may have hit you with a bottle. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody else did. Now, did the police conduct an investigation?
Yes, they made a report in the hospital. The reason...
Just a second. The police conducted an investigation.
Yes.
Did they arrest the defendant?
No. The reason for that is because I didn't say his name, because I didn't want this to get bigger. I understand his friends would probably retaliate against me if I did say his name. I tried to solve it in a helping manner.
Just a second. So that my question is, when the police asked you who injured you, you either had to say, I don't know, or I didn't see, or I don't want to say. Those are the three things. You want to tell me what you told the police?
Yes. They asked me, do you want to talk about this? I said, I don't want to say anything.
No, that's not what police say. You want to talk about this. They say, I don't want to say anything. If the police took a report, they took a report of an assault, and they say, who was your assailant? And you either told them, I don't know his name, I didn't see who did it. Which one was it?
I don't know his name.
You don't know his name?
Yeah.
What?
The plaintiff's mom and sister came to my house threatening me, saying that they will call the police if I don't pay the medical bills. They told me they didn't call the police, and they were trying to extort me by saying that if I didn't pay them, then they were going to go to the police.
Who paid Brenton's medical bills, Mr. Bonilla?
Did he have medical bills?
I don't know. I don't know. Do you know? Punched him a couple of times. He fell backwards, according to you, on concrete.
That was self-defense. He was coming
Just a second. No, wasn't self-defense. Your girlfriend came inside to get you. Wasn't self-defense at all. You had seen him with his buddy, allegedly bumping one of your friends in the backyard for no reason. And there were 100 people at this party, Mr. Bonilla. Somebody got the worst of the deal. Maybe it was Brenton. I don't know. But certainly Brenton isn't here being a crybaby. Just you. You don't like the heat? Stay out of the kitchen.
Your Honor, it's just...
You don't like the heat? Stay out of the kitchen. And if you were doing nothing in the backyard and your girlfriend came in the back and said, you better come outside, there's trouble, somebody who doesn't want to get into trouble says, you know what? If there's trouble going on in the front, I don't want to be there. You and I stay back here. Here there's no trouble. If there's trouble in the front, I don't want to be there. But that's not what you did, if I believe her, which I don't. Which I don't.
Your Honor, I have had headaches since that day. I've had
listen,
past...
that's your problem. Stay out of the kitchen, Mr. Bonilla.
So that makes it right to hit people with bottles?
Just a second. If you are assaulting his friend, and I absolutely believe that you are assaulting his friend, he has the right to get you off.
There's a difference between getting off and hitting someone with a bottle.
I didn't use a bottle.
I got hit in the head with a bottle and slashed in the face.
Sometimes when you get into a brawl, you get the worst of the bargain. This time you did. You don't like the heat? Stay out of the kitchen. I have a feeling that you were not an innocent bystander in all of this, Mr. Bonilla. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Yes.
I am wrong that you were an innocent bystander.
Yes, I truly think I was.
You think you were an innocent bystander?
Yes.
You went from the backyard to the front of the house. You assaulted someone, knocked them to the ground, hitting them at least twice, and you're telling me you're an innocent bystander?
So what if it was...
Goodbye, Mr. Bonilla.
In the matter of Harrington versus Badman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Harrington, according to the complaint that I read, you and the defendant were in a relationship and lived together for a period of time. When you moved in together, you took some of your stuff and put it in a storage unit. The storage unit was in Mr. Badman's name.
That's right.
And he paid for it.
No.
That's what he says. There came a time when the two of you parted company, a day that you will tell me about briefly, and it is your claim that he got rid of the stuff in your storage unit, which you wanted back. Mr. Badman acknowledges that he emptied the storage unit. Some of your stuff he gave to the Salvation Army. Some of your furniture he still has. And the reason he did that was that when you moved out, you took a substantial amount of property that did not belong to you, that belonged to him and to his daughter, and he has a counterclaim. How long did you live together?
He moved in with me in February of 2004. He had a dog, and I had a dog, and I was only allowed one dog at my apartment complex. Therefore, he moved into his own place, and about a few weeks after him living there, he begged me to move in, told me how much cheaper it would be.
Just listen to me.
Okay.
This is not a 1,000-page tome that we're going to do here. When did you move in together?
May of 2004.
And when did you put your property in storage?
The end of May, I believe.
The day she moved in. There wasn't room in my apartment for many of the things.
What did you put in storage?
I put living room furniture, dishes. My parents had started collecting teddy bears for me when I was a child. A futon, a bed, clothes, shoes, dresser, desk combination, a glass mirror, and my diploma, important tax information papers, all sorts of things.
And when did you separate?
July 25th, 2004.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding your moving out.
I had found out that he had been cheating on me with her. That is his baby's mother. We were going to court for custody of his child, me and him together, and I found out that he was cheating on me. I came home from work early, asked him, you know, why are you doing this? Can we please talk about this? He then shoved me into a dresser, and I dislocated my finger. The police then told him that he should leave the apartment for a few days while I got my things together. Within those 3 days, he came back and broke in his own door, busted the lock off, and I moved out the very next day because I wasn't safe living there with no lock on the door. I took the things that belonged to me, and only me. The only thing that I have of him are some pornography tapes that I did not bring with me because of the security on the airplane, and I didn't want them flashing about. They're kind of disgusting.
What'd you take them for?
They were actually in a box of movies of mine.
When did you try to get your property back?
Right after I moved out, I went to the storage unit to see. I had a key to it because my things were in it. I did pay for it, and he had changed the locks.
Now I'll hear you, sir.
No, when we did break up, it was because of we were arguing about, she was accusing me of fooling around with her. We were just friends. We've always stayed friends because we have a child in common. So I didn't want to argue, so I left the home. She called the police. We went down there. She decided she didn't want to charge say anything because she told the police that I beat her up or whatever. So then we went to the police station.
You did. You broke my
anything. She did not file the report. Anything. She said.
Don't say anything when he's testifying. You know how quiet he was when you were telling me your story?
Mm-hmm.
I read your complaint very carefully. You came home and you wanted to talk to him. That's
Correct.
what you said in your complaint.
Correct.
He was sleeping.
No, he was up.
It says, I'm reading from your complaint, things were going terribly for us, and he was served with an eviction notice. On July 25th, not June, on July 25th, 2004, everything came to a head. We were in an argument. I came home from work to talk to Fred. He was sleeping.
Oh.
And I tried to get him to talk to me. That's what you said.
Okay, that's fine.
And when you want to talk to somebody and they're sleeping and they don't want to communicate with you, you get angry.
No, I was not angry.
You weren't angry.
No, I was not.
No, you weren't angry.
I was upset.
You were living with somebody. You think he was fooling around with the mother of his child. According to you, you came home. You found him sleeping. You went in there and he didn't want to talk to you. And so he broke your finger.
He did.
Miss Harrington, I have no question that your finger got broken.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he broke it.
He wrote it in his report to the police. I actually have it.
Oh,
if
I'd
you'd
like to see that. He said he broke your finger. I'd like to see that.
Yes, it
I
does say that.
squeezed her hand. And that was after she went and punched the wall
It's
about 20
highlighted in
times.
yellow.
around her. On the report, it says that there's no injuries to anybody. She didn't report any injuries to the police.
No,
right
there were none marked.
I just wanted her to leave me alone. April started to poke me on the right side of my body with her finger. I told her to leave me alone. She continued to poke me with her finger, saying, stop being a blank jerk and talk to me. You know, you live long enough, you could practically write the scenario. I want to talk to you. Leave me alone. I just want to sleep. I don't want to talk to you. Now, leave me alone. I want to talk to you. Then you say, I rolled over and grabbed her hand. I cannot remember which I had grabbed, but it was her bad hand, and she started crying. April asked me why I grabbed her like that, and I said, because you keep poking me.
I wasn't poking him. I really wanted to talk about it. I was very upset.
Listen to me. I got it. You just told me you weren't upset.
Listen
to me. A moment ago, you said, I came home from work, I just wanted to talk, I wasn't upset. Listen to me, Miss Harrington.
Your Honor, I wasn't angry. I was very upset. I was crying, hurt. I was not angry.
Then what I'm telling you is, you upset, angry, whatever it was, you can't put your hands on somebody like this. And if they don't like it, which she said, you gave me the report. So you want to vouch for the truth of this report.
No, just
the part that you like.
No, that's not true. If
Just
you
the
read
part-
my
listen,
statement also.
I'm reading his statement.
Okay.
That's what you gave me.
If you keep reading it, he also pushed me in the face and kicked me off the bed. And
listen to me. He wanted you to leave him alone.
So it's okay if he kicks me and...
You shouldn't have put your hands on him. Miss Harrington, you put your hands on
I wasn't hurting him. I was...
Listen to me. You can't put your hands on somebody and continue to irritate them and expect them to do nothing.
That's fine.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He gave them to me willingly.
No, I don't believe that. Madam, you just said to me, that's a fib. Fib, because you just said to me I took him out of spite.
And later today,
What else did you do with the car?
I let April drive it.
And April wrecked the car.
Yes.
You don't mind my yelling at him, do you?
No, ma'am.
Yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. April Harrington says former live-in boyfriend Fred Badman sold her belongings after she moved out. Fred is countersuing, claiming April also stole from him.
What property of hers did you give away to the Salvation Army?
Things I gave away of hers, I went and retrieved all the stuff from the storage unit because I didn't want to pay
What
anymore
month
on
did
it.
you do that?
February 05, ma'am.
So you left it there for 6 months?
Many months I left it there.
She asked you for the stuff back.
I wanted my items back before I was going to give her anything. That's
What
what I told
items?
her.
What items were they?
She took my entertainment stand, a bunch of movies.
Just a second. Entertainment stand. What does that look like, sir?
It's right here. And a tent. That's what I got pictures of.
I need a cup of coffee.
An entertainment stand, some movies.
Okay. I mean, this entertainment stand, did you put it together yourself?
Yes,
or
I did.
You put it together yourself?
Yes. I bought it from an appliance store years ago.
$69, you put it all together?
No, it was $300. It's a large entertainment stand.
I'm looking at it, sir. I got it.
Okay.
Let us say she took the entertainment stand. And she took... Did you take his tent?
No, I did not.
Did you take his entertainment stand?
He gave that to me because where he was moving had a big screen TV and he no longer needed it.
Big screen TV.
What else do you say she took of yours, sir?
She took my fishing tackle box, some PlayStation 1 video games. I don't know why she would have took my Jack, but Jack wasn't at my house no more. And she took my daughter's clothing and toys. Because when we were living together, we went out together, bought clothing and toys and many things for my daughter's birthday when she turned 1. And when she moved out, she figured I bought them, I'm taking them myself. So she took all the things that we bought together for my daughter.
All the things that she paid for?
Correct.
Good.
We paid
Now,
for
listen to me. All the things that you paid for?
Correct.
Listen to me, Miss Harrington. you may have paid for them, but once you make a gift, then they no longer belong to you.
Okay, I actually bought them because we were going to custody for the child.
I don't care. They were not, the clothes didn't fit you.
Correct.
The toys weren't for you to play with. And once you purchase something and give it away, the gift is complete. You no longer have ties to it. You cannot take it. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
So that was wrong.
I know that was wrong.
So why didn't you give them back?
I took them out of spite, actually, honestly, and I did not give them back because we didn't talk anymore after that. He no longer, he wouldn't give me my things out of the storage unit. And
did he ask you for his daughter's things?
No, he never. He gave them to me willingly.
No, I don't believe that. Madam, you just said to me, that's a fib, because you just said to me, I took them out of spite.
Ma'am,
listen to me, you can't have it both ways.
I asked them for them back out of spite, yes, and he did give them to me willingly. I went to his new house.
Sounds to me
after
like
he
you
moved.
two people did a lot of nasty things to each other.
Very true.
But, Mr. Badman, you cannot dispose of her property. You can go to court and seek to recoup your $29.99 TV stand, or if you say your tent, which she says she doesn't have, that you can do. But you cannot give away her property.
I kept the important things, Your Honor. I kept all of her.
Oh, good. That's what I want to see. What important things that you kept?
I kept all of the furniture that she had, and I kept important documents like her taxes that she's been wanting.
Good.
And
I'd like to see all of those
her
things,
GED
sir.
papers.
Perfect. Oh, this is going
Would
to
you
be
like
such
my
a...
list also?
I'm speaking.
Okay.
It's all junk, Your Honor.
So you have all of it?
Yes, I
in
have
your
all that.
house?
It's at my aunt's house.
Looks like it's in a barn.
It is. So I wasn't going to keep paying $85 a month for stuff.
You should have given it back to her.
I didn't want to do that when she's kept all my stuff.
You're a big baby, Mr. Badman. You're a baby.
All right.
Yeah, you're a baby. 5 days from today, she's going to pick up all of her property. It's to be put together in good order.
The place where my things are at, there are 13 cats, and the house itself and the barn itself is absolutely covered in feces
It's not true,
and
Your
urine.
Honor.
Miss Harrington, this is your choice. The property has been in Mr. Badman's possession now for over a year.
Correct.
You had a choice. Your choice was to immediately pursue him in court, just as you did now, a
He
month
told me
later.
he
Listen
sold
to
it.
me. A month later, and get your stuff.
He told me he sold it.
Well, then what brought you here a year later? Is not an answer.
He started leaving notes in my car, like trying to get in contact with me, so I went to see him, and he told me he sold them.
And I'm telling you, what you did was you waited for a year to pursue a matter in court, and now if you don't like the way the stuff has been, you're not going to get the cash for it. Okay. Now I want you to tell me what you gave to Salvation Army.
I gave 2 Rubbermaid bins of clothing that was all moldy and gross from sitting around forever. The little box of ceramic dishes that she had. A few of them items were broke, so I had to throw them in the garbage. And a little bag of teddy bears that were just junk, and that was it.
Mr. Badman, that junk is going to cost you $1,000.
For dishes?
They weren't broken when she left them. And the clothes weren't moldy when she left them. And the teddy bears were a collection of hers. And you had no right to dispose of them. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Now, what proof do you have that she took any of your property?
I don't really have proof of anything because when I've broken up with girls before, I've dealt with them stealing like a couple things, and I just wanted to move on with my life.
You mean this has happened to you before?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
A couple.
You're very unlucky in love. Are you together now with the mother of your child?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
You live together?
She's my fiancée. We're just going to be married soon.
Oh, wonderful. So, did a little bit
Getting my
backwards,
life
but
all straightened out, and everything's good, and just want to be with my child and get all this over with.
very good. My complaint against Miss Harrington is a complaint that I can put on your shoulders as well, sir. You had a legal remedy, right?
I didn't choose to do anything.
You chose to do nothing.
Right.
And you have no proof that she took anything.
And she has no proof of what was in the storage unit either. Your
Listen
Honor.
to me.
Of the few
Listen to
items
me.
that she does
You
have.
just told me what it was that you,
That
as
what I
far
do
as I'm
have.
concerned, maliciously gave away, including something that she says was a teddy bear collection that she had for a very long time, and you said it was a bunch of junk teddy bears. It's not nice. That's irritating. You told me that. She didn't. I wouldn't even look at her list. I asked you what you gave to Salvation Army. So your counterclaim's dismissed. 5 days from today, she's going to pick up all of her stuff. And you owe her $1,000 for the stuff that you gave away wrongfully. That's all. Step out.
Thank you very much.
How does that excuse you, Mr. Up?
She was fun. I made a mistake, and I didn't think of other things, anything else other than what was in my pants.
We've been friends for 5 years. We've been together 4.5 years. We're getting married. He never cheated. He never cheated on her.
Don't get involved with people with the last name Badman.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Wamsley versus Martinez. Step forward.
19-year-old Preston Wamsley is suing neighbor Audrey Martinez and her son, 17-year-old Chris Rivera, for the cost of a Mitsubishi Eclipse. Preston claims Chris totaled the vehicle.
You and the defendants are neighbors. This is her son, who is
Christopher Rivera.
17.
Yes.
And this is your mother. At some point, Christopher came to your house and asked if he could borrow your car. You knew he was 17. Now, is not an answer in court. Is fine outside here. You
Yes,
say
Your Honor.
yes, no, whatever. Your Honor is a nice touch. He said he needed your car so he could take his sister to school.
Yes.
But that was a partial truth. You know what that means?
I'm not sure.
It means it was only partially true, half true. A little piece of it was true. Some of it was a lie. You didn't just want to take your sister to school. You did something else with the car, right?
Yes.
What else did you do with the car?
I gave my cousin a ride home.
And after you gave your cousin a ride home, then what else did you do with the car?
And I let April drive it.
Who's April?
Some girl.
Was she in the car?
Yes.
I didn't get that part of the story. How did April get into the car?
Because she was with my cousin.
How old is April?
17, I believe.
I want you to keep your voice up. You don't mind my yelling at him, do you?
No, ma'am.
Yes. And April wrecked the car.
Yes.
So, Mr. Wamsley, you expect Mrs. Martinez to pay for your car.
Yeah, and I was under the impression that he had a license.
I don't care whether you thought he had a license to drive race cars or drive a ship to the moon. You have no right to loan a car to a minor. None. Now, I read your complaint and you said, well, you thought he had a license because you saw him driving around in his mother's car.
Yes,
Well,
Your
his
Honor.
mother wants to be a jerk and let him drive around in her car. That's her prerogative and her problem. But how do you know that his mother gave him permission to drive around in her car? Maybe he was just driving around in it when she wasn't home. Is that possible?
It could be, yes.
Sure. Does your son have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
You ever give him permission to drive your car?
No.
You drive your mother's car?
Yes.
Where's your mother when you drive her car?
At home.
Does she know you drive her car?
No.
See what I mean? As a matter of fact, if he was injured while in your car that you let him borrow, she would sue you and would have collected. Do you understand? When you're dealing with a minor, and he's a minor, he's a stupid minor, and he's dishonest, right?
Yes.
You do not do anything that would require parental permission, because when you talk in terms of minors, they are referred to as minors in the law because they're too stupid to make their own judgments. He's too stupid to make his own judgment. And you gave him a weapon. Was April hurt?
No, ma'am.
Anybody hurt?
No, ma'am.
You are a very lucky man, sir. You should go home and thank your lucky stars that somebody isn't suing you and taking your house away. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused.
323 on the calendar, the matter of Williams versus Grooming Dales. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Williams, you took your dog into the defendant's grooming establishment, and it is your claim that he abused you, he abused your dog, you had to take the dog someplace else to be finished, and you're suing him for several $100s. Miss Williams, what kind of a dog do you have?
A miniature schnauzer.
How long have you had the dog?
She's probably about 1.5 years old.
How many times have you had her groomed?
I had always groomed her myself. This was the first time she's ever been done professionally.
Okay, and why did you decide to have it done professionally this time?
She had been bitten by a brown recluse, and we...
What's a brown recluse?
A spider. She had a spider bite on her neck. Once we
Okay.
got her all well from the spider bite, we had decided that we wanted to take her to get a special treatment, just for her pain and suffering, for her own kind of thing, to make her feel pretty for a change.
Dogs don't know when they don't look pretty.
Well, we did.
They don't know if they're not pretty.
Well, their little pink bows and their polished nails.
They don't care about polished nails. Anyway, where do you live?
In Spring Hill, Tennessee.
So how did you find Mr. Loeb's grooming salon?
I had gotten a paper in the mail.
Okay, from one of these freebies that you get in the mail.
Yes.
Good. You called him and said you wanted to bring the dog in immediately.
Well, I told him that I saw his paper, and I explained to him that I would only be down in Columbia for a short period of time. Would it be possible to get her in and out of the time that I wanted?
So he said, fine, bring the dog in?
Well, first he told me that it wasn't possible for the hours that I needed to get done. Told him, okay, thanks for the call. He had a cute article in the paper, and I wished him well with his business. After that, he was like, well, let me think about this and see how we can do it. I can probably even schedule you an appointment so he could get the business. So I was grateful for the opportunity. He was willing to work with me, so I was certainly willing to take the dog for the drive.
So you had a 3-hour window, according to what I read in your paper?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you say to Mr. Loeb when you got there?
I told him that we would be back at about 12:30 to pick her up. He took down my phone number, and when we left, he called my cell phone to confirm that this was the dog that he had to have out within the 3 hours. Told him that, yes, that was her. He said, great, he'd see me about 12:30. So when I came back at actually about 12:45, I just asked him if the dog was ready. He was outside having ice cream, so I assumed that she was ready. And he said no, that he had washed the dogs in the morning, and they were still drying. And I told him, I said, you are aware of the time? And he said, can you give me another 20 minutes? I said, sure, I can do another 20 minutes, but understand that's cutting it very close. So he said, okay, fine. I left for about 20 minutes, and I came back, and he came out behind the partition and asked me, how did I want her cut? Told her she's a miniature schnauzer we had discussed in the morning. I wanted a miniature schnauzer cut. And I told him, I said, you are aware that we are already behind and that I don't have much time left, and when it comes time that I have to go, I have to go. He said he's aware of that. He's doing the best that he could do. He was behind the partition. I could hear him back there. I mean, he was being very rude to my dog.
How was he being rude to your dog?
He was, I mean, the way he was, it was like, stop it, stop it. And whenever I got there in the morning, I explained, he asked me what kind of a temperament she had. I told him that I had always groomed her, and I put a muzzle on her myself, that I would recommend and suggest that he do the same thing. When I got there, he told me that my dog did not behave. And I asked him, I said, what dog do you know that hops up on the table and says, please give me a haircut? I mean, I expected her to not have a good time with the clippers against her.
Miss Williams, I thought you told me a moment ago that you were taking this dog in as a special treat for her.
Yes.
Because she had a spider bite, so you wanted to give her a special treat.
Right.
Well, dogs are used to having you groom her, so you take her to a stranger, and you just said to me, what dog do you know that likes to have a clippers taken to? So this wasn't a special treat for the dog, this was a special treat for you.
I guess, I mean, to see her look pretty.
Well, I'm just telling you, it's a special treat for you. Okay, so let's move on. So when he's talking rudely to the dog, go ahead.
Well, he was obviously irritated with me outside when I asked him, since he was outside eating ice cream, I assumed my dog was done. That's when the obvious irritation with him started. When we were inside, I would tell him, you know, this is how long it's been, how much longer is it going to be? A few more minutes, a few more minutes.
Is that the way you was talking to him? You said, how much longer is it going to be, just that way?
Yes, I was not, at this point, I wasn't rude
and he
or
said,
upset.
And he said just a few more minutes?
Yes.
Just a few more minutes. Okay, so?
So I waited a few more minutes and it still wasn't done.
Okay.
And then when it came down to that very last moment where I knew that even if I caught a long red light, I was going to be late. So I just told him, I said, whether she's done or not, I have to take her with me now.
Okay.
So he put her down and he gave her to me, and she was a mess. I mean, she just looked like she had not had a bath. She had puffs of hair on her where there was not other puffs of hair. She was just a mess.
Okay, she wasn't finished. So
Yes.
what's next?
I offered to pay half the bill. I mean, he did half the work. And he said, no, just take your dog and get out of here. And don't ever come back.
Okay.
I mean, he was very rude to me.
Okay, so he told you to take your dog and go and don't come back.
Right. As we were leaving out of the store with the dog, he came running out behind us, hollering obscenities behind us. I took the dog, went straight to my car to lock the door because I did not feel safe. I mean, for him to chase me out of the store. When we got in the car, I realized that my dog's eye was swollen. And then when I got home, both of them were swollen shut. So I called my husband and I explained to him the incident that happened at the store, the fact that the dog was hurt, and we had decided that she had to go to the vet. He called himself to talk to the groomer to find out what happened.
Well, what conversation did you have with him, Mr. Williams?
Well, I called him and I tried to talk to him. I said, hey, what's going on? What happened with the dog? Well, this guy here, he was really rude. He was loud. He was yelling at me on the phone, and I called to inquire about any services that he had done for the dog.
What were you calling to inquire about?
To find out what happened, why she didn't get groomed,
Oh, well,
why
that's
my
what-
wife was upset.
Just a second. What does he care why your wife is upset? I don't understand why you called him. Now, if you said to me, I called him because the dog's eyes were shut and I didn't know what happened, if that's the first thing you said to me, Mr. Williams, then I would say, well, that's legitimate. If you take a dog in, and even if it's not groomed the way you like it, and you take the dog half groomed and you leave, so he didn't charge you. He just said, take the dog. You're nutty. I don't want to deal with you or your dog anymore. There's no reason to call him. But if you're calling to inquire as to the eyes, that would have been the first thing you told me.
Right.
But that wasn't the first
It
thing you
wasn't.
told me.
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Well, she was upset. She called me.
Who cares if she's upset? He doesn't care if your wife's upset. Only you care.
Right. So I
So
wanted
what?
to figure out what had happened to make her upset and what
Who
happened with the dog.
Who cares?
She said that she was in pain, that she was not feeling well, that it didn't go well. She had a bad experience.
Who, she or the dog?
My wife did.
And
Not the dog.
Listen to me. Get over it. How old are you?
30.
Get over it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't know whether she was mad at me, got in the car, slapped the dog across the head.
No,
I don't know.
Mr. Lowe. Didn't happen.
And later today,
Listen to me very carefully. It doesn't belong to you. It's not your desk.
Who says it's her desk?
I do.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Williams and her husband Marcus claim dog groomer Don Loeb Jr. abused their miniature schnauzer. Don says Catherine was a nightmare customer.
Okay. Have a vet bill for me to look at and a diagnosis of the eyes?
I do.
Jeez.
I have pictures of the dog as well.
Did you put some sort of cream in the dog's eyes for grooming?
No, ma'am.
What did you use to wash the dog?
We use a cream rinse shampoo, conditioner. The head area is washed with a baby shampoo. It's a tearless, non-toxic shampoo.
Well, evidently this dog did not react well to your tearless shampoo.
I don't know what happened after she left the facility. I don't know whether she was mad at me, got in the car, slapped the dog across the head.
No, 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 no,
I
no,
don't
no,
know.
no,
I
no,
don't
no,
know.
Mr. Lowe, listen to me very carefully, sir. That's not what happened. How much after you took the dog out of the grooming salon, Miss Williams, did you take the dog to the vet?
I got her in that day. It was the first opening they had was like 4:45.
Okay, let me tell you, before we get on with this, I'm not interested if Mrs. Williams didn't have a good experience at your grooming salon.
Yes, ma'am.
And if her husband is interested in whether or not she was upset and wasn't feeling well, that's his problem. My problem is with the dog. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You're a big girl. You're 30 years old. You had a bad experience with a merchant? You don't go back there.
Right. I would have understood that if my dog hadn't been hurt. I would have just never gone back. It would have not been an issue any further.
Well, but my problem is your husband. When your husband called him, your husband didn't call him and say to him, "You hurt my dog."
Well,
the first,
I did.
No, the first thing you
The first thing I told you that, but I did talk to him about that.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Okay.
Stop poking him. He can speak for himself. Move over. Put your hands down. The first thing you said you discussed with him was your wife's emotional state.
Right.
And I'm telling you, that's not his business.
Right. But we did discuss the dog because I picked her out when she was a baby. That's my baby there. That was the first dog I ever
Then that
had.
would have been the first thing I would have
And
talked about, not my wife not
When
being
she
happy.
called me to see what's up, I had to see both sides of the story. I just can't sit and take her side. I want to know what happened. So when I called him to see what happened, he gave me his side of the story. And after he hung up with me, he called me back to complain to my manager for me calling and complaining about the services that were done on my dog. I thought that was ridiculous. If I get a hamburger at Wendy's, it's not done right, and I go back and complain, they don't call me back and say, well, we're complaining because your hamburger was wrong.
Mr. Anderson did, in fact, call me to pick him up. I would not go out of my way to pick him up from another female's home. Absolutely not. Never.
Listen to
I'm
me.
not a chauffeur, and that's not what
Listen
happened.
to me.
Okay.
You picked him up with his friend, and you drove him home.
He called me.
You picked him up with his friend, and you drove him home.
When we arrived at the home, I needed to use the bathroom. I asked Mr. Anderson if I can use his bathroom. I had a key to his home. I let myself in. Mr. Anderson and his friend was still in the car. My purse was in my car. I came back down to the car, and Mr. Anderson was telling Mr. Anderson goodbye. I checked my purse, because on a separate occasion, Mr. Anderson stole money from me.
Stop!
Okay. I checked my purse. Money was missing. I asked Mr. Anderson, I said, where's the money that is missing? He was drunk. It was in the police report, and I have evidence to show you. And he punched me. I fell to the ground. I grabbed his leg to try to get up, and he grabbed my hair and pulled my hair out. He also grabbed a bottle from his house. We were in the house at this time. We were in the house fighting.
Well, just a second.
Okay.
Miss Burton, how did you get into the house?
I let myself in with a key.
Just a second. Hey, listen to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was banging on my door like the psycho from... I told her to get lost, kick rocks. She forced her way into the house. I grabbed her by her arm and tried to lead her out the house. She still wouldn't go.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chelsea Burton says ex-boyfriend Andrew Anderson beat her up after she accused him of stealing her money. Andrew is countersuing, claiming Chelsea destroyed his necklace and laptop.
Miss Burton, you let yourself into the house with a key.
Yes, ma'am.
You used the bathroom.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you came outside. That's what you just told me.
Correct.
You had left your purse in the car, which means that you had to sit down in the car, look in your purse. Now you say there was money missing. You asked him where.
At this...
Nope.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm just telling you what you just told me.
Okay.
You asked him where the money was. He said he didn't know where any money was, and he was drunk. You telling me you just found out he was drunk? You couldn't detect he was drunk when you picked him up at his friend's house?
Not drunk and belligerent, no, ma'am.
You mean he got drunk and belligerent from
When
the
I asked
time
him
it
about
took
the
you to
money.
go to the bathroom?
When I asked him about the money, he got
you
angry.
got drunk and belligerent from the time you went to the bathroom to the time you came outside.
No, ma'am.
All right.
He had
Now,
been
shall
drunk.
Okay. The next thing you told me was when you asked him about the money, he punched you. That's
Correct.
exactly what you said. And you fell to the ground. And then you tried to grab his legs.
Get up.
And then he pulled you by the hair. And then somehow, miraculously, you're transported inside the house. Because you say, then we're inside the house, and he took a bottle from the house.
No, ma'am, I did not tell you the locations.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't tell you the locations as I walked. I let myself in. I used the bathroom. I came back out. He was in the car with his friend. He came out of the car. As I searched my purse, he was walking to his home. He was
Just
in
a
his
second.
home.
Just a
I
sec-
went back to his...
Oh, you went
Right.
for just a second.
I went back to his home to ask about my money.
Just a second. Well, that's not what you told me before.
Okay, that's what I meant to say. I'm sorry.
Well, but that's not what you told me before.
Okay.
I know you keep saying okay. So you followed him back into his house.
I did not follow him, Your Honor. He was already there. He was already settled. I had searched my purse because I know his type of personality. So I knocked on the door. Mr. Anderson answered. I said, do you have my money? Because you've done this to me before. Do you have my money? Please give me my money back. He punched me. And that's it.
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson. Now I'm going to hear you.
And I have pictures if you like.
I don't want to see your pictures. I don't believe that story.
Okay.
I don't believe that that's the way it happened. Do you understand?
Okay.
I don't believe that you knocked on the door and said to him, where is my money? And he punched you in the face.
He did.
That may have happened, that he punched you.
Okay.
That's not the way it happened.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so after she picked me and my friend up, we went back to the house. I opened the door. She went to go use my bathroom. She used the bathroom. She left and went back outside.
Who opened the door?
I opened the door.
With a key.
Yes, Your Honor.
She did not have a key.
She didn't have a key until... She had a key at one point because she knew where we left our key out because I had other roommates there. So if one of us had the key and we were getting ready to leave, we would leave it, you know, so that the other person would have a way into the house.
Mr. Anderson, did you ever make Miss Burton a key to your apartment?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever give her a key to your apartment?
No, Your Honor. She went behind my back and talked to my friend.
No. You can't tell me what she said to your friend. All I'm asking you, Mr. Anderson, is whether or not you gave Miss Burton a key to your apartment.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So you let her in. She used the bathroom. She went back outside. Did you say goodbye?
Yeah, I told her goodbye. Within 2 minutes, she was banging on my door like the psycho from...
Go ahead.
I went back to the door to see what her problem was, and she said, give me my $10. I said, what $10? She said, the $10 that I had in my trunk. I then said, from what point of me coming into the house, you using the bathroom and leaving, did I have time to go to a car that the doors were locked as well as the trunk with no key? I told her to get lost, kick rocks, and, you know, that was the end of it.
Stop playing with papers.
When I went to go shut the door, she forced her way into the house and broke my door off the hinges. I got pictures of that as well. After she forced her way into my house, I tried to handle her like a gentleman. I grabbed her by her arm and tried to lead her out the house. She still wouldn't go. I picked her up from behind. As you can see, she's not the smallest chick in the world. And she tried to throw all her weight down onto the floor, and this is when she broke my chain. I let her back up. She got up. She ran into the living room. That's when my witness came in, and she picked up a bottle, broke the laptop. As you can see right here.
Absolutely not true.
I've got a crack on the top.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
As you can see right here, I've got a crack on my laptop. The bottle actually went all the way through, and also cracked the front right here. And after she broke the laptop, she picked up a lamp and started.
Mr. Anderson, when the police arrived, which they did that day, did you report to the police that she had broken your computer?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Do you have that in a police report?
Not sure, Your Honor.
Do you have the police report?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the entire police report, please.
Would you like me to submit medical bills and pictures at this time?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Miss Burton, you were the subject of a prior criminal trespass in his apartment building. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Yes, you were.
It says on police report, Mr. Anderson told the officer that.
Just a second. Oh, the officer said that Miss Burton was in the call history at this location as being criminally trespassed from this location on July 5th. You remember that?
That's when I was living there.
You weren't living there.
I paid rent.
You didn't pay rent.
I did pay rent, ma'am.
Listen, I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't know that.
Okay.
Put your hand down. Let me tell you something else the officer says, which is why, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. The officer said, I did not find either one of these subject statements to be correct. The whole thing doesn't make sense to me. He says that a whole bunch of stuff was in disarray. I didn't see anything about a computer when you spoke to the officers. You have nothing about your computer, Mr. Anderson? That's a very expensive computer.
It is, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
And she's the one who broke it.
That's what you say.
At the end of the day, when you're dealing with somebody who...
It should be in the police report, Mr. Anderson.
Maybe the police were worried about the wrong thing. Instead of listening to what I was trying to tell them happened. When you got a female who's lying and comes out trying to put on a Mother Medea scene like she's all injured and hurt.
There is no question that she did not start to complain about her physical injuries to the extent that they required any sort of treatment until after the officer told her she was being arrested for trespass. According to the officer, when he told her she was being arrested for trespass, let me see what it says here. I advised Burton that she was under arrest for criminal trespass. At this point, Burton's injuries became more painful, and she advised me that she needed to be transported to a hospital to be checked. Prior to that, when the medical people arrived, Miss Burton had leg pain, she said, and 2 small scratches on her face. However, she refused treatment and refused to be transported. I'm speaking.
Sorry.
And refused to be transported to the medical unit and signed a refusal form to the medical unit.
Yes, Your Honor, I didn't have insurance, and I told him that, and he said, you can still go, so he still took me.
No, that's not what he says happened. You see why I have a problem with what you're doing? I know what happened.
Okay.
I know what happened.
All right.
That's what the policeman said happened. You refused medical treatment, didn't want medical treatment.
No, I told the police officer, that officer was, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, ma'am, we're living in the state of Georgia. They're just ready to lock up young black people when they get into issues. He really was drunk. He has an issue with alcoholism, period. And
then you had no...
I was trying to help him.
No. If he has a problem with alcoholism, then you stay away from him. And if he has a problem with being drunk, then you don't go back into his house if you think that there's $10 missing from your trunk. You leave, especially if you say that he's drunk. And it has nothing to do with the state of Georgia and police officers. The police officer offered you medical care. You declined it. When the officer checked him for warrants, it was nothing. But it came up positive that the police had been called to his apartment before saying, get her out of here. She's trespassing in my apartment. So the police said, we're going to arrest you. At that point, you said to the police, don't arrest me. I'm in pain. Take me to the hospital.
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what it says here. You want me to read it to you?
I explained to the police officer I do not have medical insurance.
No.
It is this much. It costs this much for my injuries, $4,400.
Listen to me.
I did not want to pay for this out of pocket, but I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, Miss Burton.
Honestly, I was in a lot of pain. I need you to understand that.
Just a second. How much time did it take you to get into a lot of pain? Now, you're having a conversation with the police officer, and you decline medical treatment.
Because of insurance purposes.
You think you're smarter than I am? All right. So you talked to the police officer. You said, whatever it is, I don't have medical insurance. I'm declining medical treatment. Then the officer says, we are arresting you for criminal trespass. And you say, I'm in a lot of pain. I want to go to the hospital. Now, between that period of time when you declined and said, I want to go to the hospital, took just about that much time. I want to know, is it within that time frame that your pain became either so acute or somehow miraculously you got insurance?
No, I did not receive insurance. No, ma'am. But I was in the back of the police car with my hands tied behind my back. I was crying and screaming. My knees were buckled. I don't think you've ever been in the back of the police car, but it's very painful to be in that position. And it was getting worse as I was in that tight position.
Great.
And I told him I wanted to see the hospital in the beginning. I told him I wanted medical insurance in the beginning.
No, you didn't.
I told him that in the beginning, yes, ma'am.
Well,
it's in the police report, ma'am. I highlighted it.
You gave me the police report.
I highlighted where I told him at first I wanted med care. I did.
You mean if I were to come up with a form that is signed by you saying that you declined to be taken to a medical unit, are you telling me somebody forged it or did you sign it?
He gave me a paper.
Your case is dismissed, Miss Burton. And so is yours, sir. You don't belong with each other.
I didn't
Stay away from each other. Goodbye.
Sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Miss Bell, Mr. Fisher was your boyfriend. You're not together anymore, and according to your complaint, he maliciously called the police, told them that you were threatening suicide. They came to your house, they took you to the hospital. You were later released, but you want him to pay the medical bill.
Right.
Mr. Fisher says he was worried. Right?
Yes.
Okay. First tell me, when had you been dating? Over what period of time?
From May of 2002 through December.
And when was this telephone call made to the police?
On August 29th.
August 29th of 02?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
That night, Algerald and I had gotten together and we were talking about a previous case. And
previous case of what?
Domestic violence.
What previous case of domestic violence?
The week before, he had thrown a bottle at my car and damaged it, and I made a report to the police.
So you'd had a fight the week before?
It wasn't a fight.
Were you in the car when he threw something at the car?
I was driving away from him, and he was upset, and he threw the bottle. The night of this incident, he was upset that I had done all that, so he tried to bribe me.
You mean he was upset that you had called the police?
Yes. And he was
Where were you when you were having this discussion?
We were at my apartment.
Had you gone out for the evening?
No.
Did you have a date with him that night?
No, we got together that night just to discuss the situation.
Tell me about the discussion.
Through the discussion, he was trying to bribe me into dropping the domestic violence case, and he was telling me that his mother had called the police on me and told them that I had driven through his yard.
Did the police ever come to see you about those calls that were made by his mother?
No, ma'am.
So you don't know anything about it?
That's the only thing I know from what he told me.
And then you called the police on him because he threw a bottle at your car. Did he damage your car?
Yes.
Got together to talk about this incident, and then what happened?
Then I told him that since I hadn't been contacted by the police, I would only want to talk to him after they do and go through court with that. So he was upset he couldn't get another response out of me, and I asked him, are you ready to go home? So I drove him home. And on the way there, it was quiet at first, and then he started telling me, oh, you're nothing without me. You may as well go kill yourself. And so I stopped the car, and I made him get out.
How far away from his house did you make him get out?
Oh, gosh. It was about halfway there.
And about how far away was that from his house?
7 blocks.
Excuse me?
7 blocks.
7 blocks. Thank you very much. Okay, so you let him out, and what's the next thing that happened to you when you got home, Miss Bell?
Before I went to bed, I received a phone call from a dispatcher saying that someone had called on me and that the police would be on their way.
Someone had called on you about what?
A concern that they had. She didn't exactly explain it to me over the phone.
Okay. Go ahead.
And she told me that also that the police were on their way and that they couldn't find the apartment number.
And the police did arrive?
Yes, they did.
When the police arrived at your apartment, what happened?
They questioned me about the incident in the car. And
in the car, you mean when you dropped him off?
Yes. And I told them everything that happened. And they went ahead and told me that I could either go willingly or I could go forcibly. And I decided to go willingly with them to get evaluated by a doctor because I knew I was fine and I just knew that they would release me. But
and did they?
Yes.
And then you got a bill from the doctor?
Yes.
Can I see the reports that you have from the hospital where you were taken? Miss Bell, you admit to the doctor that you did say to him, when he said to you, you're worthless, you're nothing, you admit to the doctor that you said, fine, I'll just go ahead and overdose on ecstasy, that's what you said to him.
Yes.
But you didn't mean it.
I didn't say it to him.
Yes, you did. You told the doctor that you said it to him. The patient admits to the suicide statement of, I will overdose on ecstasy. Doctor has no reason to lie about that.
Yes.
Good. Did he ever choke you to the point of blacking out?
Yes.
Oh my God.
When was that? Just a second.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It was in June.
Where?
In my apartment.
Say he also hit you many times and you have a scar. Did he do that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever contact the police about that?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I never even thought about it.
Did you do any of those things, Mr. Fisher?
Yes, we did have a once or twice two physical conflicts.
Why did you do that, Mr. Fisher?
Okay, first and foremost, Miss Selena Bell is the type of person where she can talk to you at one point and she will drive you to do another. I mean, I am the type of person, I am cool, calm, collected.
Why'd you hit her?
Why? We're in a relationship and she brought other people into a relationship, basically disrespected me and cheating on me, so I got basically fed up with it.
And you hit her?
Yes.
What about the choking her?
I believe we were playing at that time. And as far as yes, as far as the hitting, I hit her in the shoulder, and as far as the choking, she never did black out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm somebody that if you feel as if has trotted on your manhood, you just have to stand there and take it and not use your hands. Do we understand each other, Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Good!
And later today,
the boyfriends took some stuff from their apartment?
Without my knowledge, yes.
But he got into the apartment with your knowledge?
Yes.
So you helped them. They were being nice to you and they got kicked in the teeth.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Selena Bell claims ex-boyfriend DJ Fisher had her falsely committed to a mental institution. DJ claims she threatened to overdose on ecstasy.
How long did you stay in the hospital, Miss Bell?
Overnight.
And then you were released the next day?
Yes, ma'am.
And your total medical bills were $782,
yes.
Is that right? Okay, Mr. Fisher, to you. You want to tell me what happened on August 29th?
Yes, situation was me and my
Just look at me, look at me.
Okay. Me and Miss...
Go like this.
All right. Me and Miss Bell had a argument. She didn't see my side of the story, and I didn't see her side of the story. She asked if I wanted to go home. I said, yes, please. As she was taking me home, she stopped and called a friend of hers and asked for some ecstasy pills. While I was still in the car, I felt that was disrespect. So I called her out of her name, called her the B word.
We called her a name, okay.
She asked me to basically get out the car and walk because she was going to overdose on ecstasy and commit suicide. So I ran to a friend of mine's house who was also a minister at my church, knocked on his door. He wasn't home or didn't answer his door. From his house, I ran all the way home, sprinted home. That's a while. I called the police and was like, you know, my girlfriend's going to kill herself, you know, commit suicide, because she has had a history of ecstasy in the past. They basically went to her apartment and basically took custody of her and flattened her tires and whatnot and took her to a mental hospital. From there, I believe that's where the hospital bill came in at.
Mm-hmm.
So me, myself, I was just looking out for her because we were in a relationship. And
you cared about her?
Yeah, of course.
So you had a terrible concern for her?
Yeah,
Is that right?
just like anyone else.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Fisher. You had sufficient concern for her that, let us say, you were together and she made this statement to you, you would have taken her to the hospital yourself if you were driving, right?
Out of respect, I got out of her car because she made me.
Not just pay attention to what I'm saying. Don't try to think of where I'm going, Mr. Fisher, because you're not smart enough. Do you understand? Do you understand? You're not smart enough.
Okay.
Okay. If you had been together in the car and your girlfriend, who you cared a lot about, which is why you ran home and got all out of breath, but if you were in the car together and she made this statement, you would have taken her right to an emergency room yourself, right?
Yes.
And since Miss Bell didn't have insurance, you would have said, you have to take care of her. I'll pay, right?
You said,
right?
I'll pay?
Yeah, sure. You were that concerned.
I don't care about it like that, but
You don't? Well, that's what I want to know, Mr. Fisher. That's what I'm trying to figure out, sir.
as far as
If you... I'm speaking.
okay,
You may be able to interrupt them, but you don't interrupt me.
all right,
Because I'm entitled to disrespect you. If you deserve it.
okay,
You got it?
yes,
And you can't do anything about it, except whine. We understand each other, Mr. Fisher?
yes,
I'm somebody that if you feel as if has trotted on your manhood, you just have to stand there and take it and not use your hands. Do we understand each other, Mr. Fisher?
yes.
Good. Now, so my question to you is, you cared about her enough to call the police and have the police go to her house, but you didn't care enough about her that if you were together and somebody said you have to pay to admit her to the hospital, you wouldn't pay for her, right?
I mean, that's her own thing. If she wants to, I ain't got nothing to do with me anymore.
Well, if it had nothing to do with you, then what did you call the police for, Mr. Fisher?
I felt like that's the only way out, or way to the situation I had.
Did it have anything to do with the fact that she had called the police a couple of weeks earlier on you?
No, it didn't.
No. You were genuinely concerned.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Miss Bell, back to you, madam. This incident happened, according to you, on the 29th of August. And according to you, you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend from May of 2002 until December of 2002. Is that right?
We were on and off.
On and off and on and off means that you were together until December of 2002. Is that right?
Correct.
And why are you here today, madam?
Because I felt like he did this out of retaliation.
Then you should have sued him in September, October, November,
Kept
December.
telling me he was going to help pay for it.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Well, tell me about that, Miss Bell. That's different.
I would bring it up, tell him that, you know, I just got released from active duty in the military, and, you know, I got released because of this incident. You know, I was security forces, and they don't want me being armed because of this suicidal situation.
Excuse me. Nah, interrupt, please.
No.
All right.
Would you just get to when he said he would pay the bill?
He would say it a number of times during our relationship.
Okay. You don't have a case. For two reasons. First of all, because you did, in fact, make the statement to him, I'm going to kill myself with ecstasy. You acknowledged that statement to the doctor who examined you. But second and most important is that you continued a relationship with him for 4 months after this incident. 4 months. And if you honestly believe that he had called the police to be vindictive, to be vicious, then I don't see why a normal person would continue a relationship in any event. For both of those reasons, I'm dismissing your case. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was concerned for her safety. I mean, we were together. Anybody in a relationship would basically support each other.
I'm tired of people messing up my credit, and that's all he was after, is trying to ruin me.
I really don't know why I'm going through this situation, but I'll be all right.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Detweiler versus Davison, step forward, please.
23-year-old student Miranda Detweiler is suing her former friend, 21-year-old stagehand Sandra Davison, for the return of her belongings. Sandra is countersuing for rent and stolen property.
Miss Detweiler, when were you in rehab?
July of 2002.
For how long?
21 days.
What kind of substances were you abusing?
Heroin and other things.
Was it a court-ordered rehab?
No.
When you got out in August?
Yes.
Did you go for follow-up treatment?
Yes.
What kind of treatment?
I'm still going to outpatient therapy, and I have a caseworker, and I go to counseling.
Take methadone?
No, I take Paxil.
According to your complaint, when you got out of rehab, you needed a place to stay. Miss Davidson and her husband, is this your husband, boyfriend?
Ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend, invited you to come and stay with them.
Yes.
I assume she was a good friend of yours.
Yes.
According to Miss Davidson, there were a couple of conditions for that, and one of the conditions was that you stay away from the ex-boyfriend. Is that right?
Yes.
And get yourself together. There came a time when Miss Davidson told you to leave. She put you out of the house, and you claim she kept some of your property and has not returned your property.
Yes.
Ms. Davidson said you had ample opportunity to take all of your property. She doesn't have any of your property, and she's counterclaiming because she says either you or your boyfriend stole some stuff from her house, and you never paid rent as you had agreed to pay when you moved in.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Miranda Detweiler claims former friend Sandra Davison won't return her belongings. Sandra claims Miranda's ex-boyfriend stole her property and sold it for drugs.
How long did she stay with you?
For about 7 months.
What was the rent agreement?
$50 a week for the whole time she was there.
Was she working when she got out of rehab?
No, ma'am.
So how did you expect her to pay $50 a week?
She was expected to try and find a job to the best of her ability.
So you didn't expect her to pay rent until she found a job?
Yeah.
All right, let's get the whole thing together. When did she finally find a job?
And beginning of December.
So from August until December, she wasn't working?
No.
So how was she going to pay you rent? Right. So that takes care of the rent. You didn't tell her to leave in August, September, October, November, did you?
No, I didn't want to see her go back on the streets and...
Good. I assume that, but for the fact that she filed this lawsuit, you wouldn't have filed a counterclaim for the rent. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So spend my time and energy on things that are important. What kind of things did she steal from your apartment?
She didn't steal it. She had her boyfriend at the time. She snuck him into the house, and he removed property from us and...
Like what?
Sold it. $900 bass guitar, $150 worth of DVDs, and a $350 PlayStation 2, and sold it for drugs.
When did the boyfriend get out of jail?
I'm not exactly sure.
When did he get out of jail?
A week before Christmas of that year, 2002.
Oh.
This stuff was stolen.
Shh. Week before Christmas?
Yes.
When did he go into jail?
July.
When was your stuff stolen?
January of 2002.
So is what you're telling me before she moved into your apartment, before she was in rehab, she had let somebody in a year before?
No, it was the same year. Her and her boyfriend got kicked out of their apartment, so we told them that they could stay with us. She had a job, she was paying rent, $50 a week, and the boyfriend was supposed to be getting a job. During that time, we gave him a month, and he never got a job, so we told him we wanted him to leave. She was still paying, she was allowed to stay, but we didn't want him around because we knew he was still using drugs. She snuck him into the house numerous times, and once we found out about it, we told her to leave.
Is that right? Just answer the question. Is that right?
Not exactly true.
Close.
Okay.
Was it close?
Close.
The boyfriend took some stuff from their apartment?
Without my knowledge, yes.
He may have taken it without your knowledge, but he got into the apartment with your knowledge.
Yes.
So you helped them. They were being nice to you, and they got kicked in the teeth.
What is not mentioned is that they were friends long before that I met him. He used to live with them at their old apartment.
They put him out. You let him back in. If he took their property and sold it, you're as responsible. Now, what are you kvetching about things that these people didn't return to you?
I have a list of things that she kept of mine. She destroyed a lot of my stuff. She peed on my shoes.
Go ahead.
So there's so many things in here that they're just broken. She took all my liquid stuff and poured it all over my clothes. There was an open beer in my clothes. There was just a lot of, like, all my good stuff she kept. Like my blades and...
What did you do about reimbursing her for all the stuff your boyfriend had stolen?
It's not like it's just my boyfriend. I'm the one who told her about it. She wouldn't have even known I stole it. He stole it. I'm the one who told him he stole it.
What did you do about paying her back for all the stuff that your boyfriend stole with your help?
I shouldn't have to.
Why not?
Because it's not my fault.
Sure it is, honey. Oh, yes, it is. It's your fault. You let him in.
He was staying there.
No, they had put him out. They had put him out. They told you could stay because you were paying rent, but he was still using, so he was out. And then he went back to jail, right?
Yes.
So they were right to put him out.
Yes.
Ms. Detweiler, I wouldn't complain if I were you. Listen, classic example of no good deed goes unpunished. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You're not going to get the value of your stuff back, but I certainly are not going to even listen to the nonsense about somebody spilling a bottle of shampoo in her stuff.
18 on the calendar in the matter of Lee versus Green.
Thanks, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Miss Lee, you purchased a vacation package from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you could not use the package because it turned out to be non-transferable. You want your money back.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant has a different story, which I will allow him to tell me briefly. Where did you get this vacation package from?
Girlfriend.
Man, a few words. You got it from another girlfriend.
Another girlfriend, yes, ma'am.
Was the plaintiff a girlfriend of yours or just a friend?
Just a friend.
Now, when this girlfriend gave you the package, Were you supposed to accompany her, or did she give it to you to go by yourself?
Well, I was supposed to accompany her on the trip, but I decided I didn't want to go.
When had she purchased it for you?
Back in August sometime.
And when did you decide not to use it?
About a week after she gave me the ticket, I decided not to use it.
Why didn't you give it back to her?
She didn't want it back. I just put the ticket up in the closet. She thought I was going to change my mind. She thought I was going to change my mind and go along with her. And I just put the ticket in the closet and just left it there.
So you didn't pay for the ticket?
No, I didn't.
And you didn't tell her right away that you had absolutely no intention of going and you're going to give her back the ticket?
She didn't want the ticket back.
Did you say to her, here's the ticket, I'm not going with you, I'm going to rip...
She did not want the ticket back.
It's not my question. Did you hand her the ticket and say, I'm not using this ticket?
Miss Young lives in New York City. I live in Richmond, Virginia.
Yes.
We spoke on the phone. I told her I was not going on the trip. She told me to keep the ticket. I probably would change my mind, and I told her I wasn't going to change my mind, and I had the ticket.
How did it come about that you sold the ticket to Miss Lee?
I met Mary. She was in a beauty shop across the street from my house. Someone introduced me to her, and we were talking. A couple of days later, she came over, and she was in my bed, and I was talking on the phone about the ticket to Aruba. And
who were you talking to?
A friend, another young lady on the phone. And she decided that, she said, well, I'll go. So I didn't say anything. I just kept talking. And when I got off the phone, she wanted to know could she purchase a ticket. And I said, yes. She gave me $200 deposit. She gave me a $200 deposit in cash at that moment. She wrote a statement out. I told her if she wasn't here the next day to purchase a ticket with the balance of the money, she would lose her deposit.
You told her that as she was putting on her stockings, sir?
No, they were off.
So you told her, I'm taking your $200. If you're not here by tomorrow with the balance of the money, you're going to forfeit the $200.
Yes.
Then you would have gotten a free ticket that you paid nothing for, plus her $200. That would have been you spending money on your trip.
I wasn't going on the trip.
Well, he must have something that I don't see. All right, Miss Lee, let's come to you because I'm getting a little nauseous from him. You bought the ticket. You gave him how much?
This was my second date with Mr. Green. Mr. Green telephone rang. A gentleman called wanting to buy these tickets for $1,000.
Listen to me, Miss Lee. Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Person of good judgment you are not, because I've listened to him for a total of 5 minutes and I could tell he's not worth very much. Okay? Not a person of good character. So you gave him how much money in total for the ticket?
I gave him a total of $700.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, so you purchased the ticket and he gave you the ticket. Were you able to use the ticket?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
The ticket was not changed into my name, and I did not have a new reservation number for the resort hotel by the time I got in Aruba. I got stopped in the Richmond International Airport as being a thief of stealing his ticket.
Was this ticket including airfare?
Including airfare,
Okay.
round-trip ticket, and hotel.
Okay. Were you able to use the airfare?
No, ma'am.
So you weren't able to use the airfare, so you couldn't get there?
I couldn't get there.
Let me see the ticket that you have, please. You went there with his ticket?
Because yes, ma'am.
You went there with his ticket?
To the airport, yes, ma'am, on October 7th.
She did never go to the airport. When I tried to have the ticket changed, I needed a social security number and a date of birth to change the ticket. She would never give me a social security number and her date of birth so I can have the ticket changed. Yeah. And at one point, she was calling me in the middle of the night, cursing, drunk, talking about, I want you to go on a trip with me, then we'll go on a trip. I said, no, I'm not going on a trip, and if you don't give me the social security number and date of birth, there's nothing I can do.
Why didn't you just have her call the travel agent and give them her date of birth?
She wouldn't do it.
Really?
I gave her the telephone number to the travel agent. She wouldn't do it.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Green. After the night that you sold her this ticket, were you intimate with her again?
No.
Never?
Never.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for that?
When I called her, she didn't want to be bothered.
But you did call her
Yeah,
again.
quite a few times.
After she bought the ticket.
I didn't bring the tapes.
Just answer my question.
I did not bring...
You're not answering my question. I'm in charge.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Judge.
Go ahead, Judge.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Green, after you spent an intimate night, he was sufficiently dissatisfied with your performance so as not to want to see you again. Did that make you angry, sir?
And later today...
You want to speak. I want you to open your mind, start receiving. Don't be sending out. Receive what I'm saying, because it's something that you don't know.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Lee says ex-boyfriend Willie Green owes for the cost of a bogus vacation package. Mary says she bought the tickets from him after their second date.
So, Mr. Green, let me understand this. She came and gave you the money for the ticket after you spent an intimate night, and evidently was sufficiently dissatisfied with your performance so as not to want to see you again. Did that make you angry, sir?
No, it doesn't.
Really? I think, Mr. Green, that you are not out any money, sir, because you didn't pay for this ticket. There are 3 people who were involved in this ticket. Let me understand this. There's Miss Lee, who paid $700 to you for the ticket. There's Miss Young, who bought you the ticket, right?
Right.
And paid whatever she paid for the ticket. Let's say she paid $1,000 for the ticket.
Paid $1,400.
Paid $1,400 for the ticket. So she paid $1,400, Miss Young. She paid $700. You paid zippo, nada, and you get $700. Is that right? That's what you think is going to happen? Wrong. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
With Mr. Green being a retired police officer, I expect him to have better standards.
She wanted me to go on a trip with her, and I just refused to go on a trip with her.
I just wanted to have a good vacation. I saved up some money, and I wanted Richmond, Virginia. That's all. And he cheated me, and he's a womanizer.
She's a jilted lover.
It's not accurate. He's the womanizer and the jilted lover. He's out to get whatever he can get from anyone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Smith. Step forward, please.
26-year-old cosmetologist Crystal Smith is suing her aunt, daycare provider Veronica Smith, for the value of a 3-wheel ice cream bike. Veronica says the bike was stolen from her garage. She has a countersuit for unpaid rent and carpet cleaning fees.
Miss Smith, the defendant is your aunt.
Yes.
And it is your claim that she owes you for some sort of a bicycle that you were storing in her house that was stolen.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Me and my auntie, Veronica, we had made up agreement for us to sell candy out of her garage. Me and my husband, we supplied candy, snowballs, any kind of snacks.
So this bicycle was not a bicycle that you ride on, it was...
It was like a 3-wheeler, a tracker.
Have a picture of it?
I have not a photo picture, but I went on the internet and went online and got on their site. I have internet.
What one looks like,
yes.
so that I have some idea of what it looks like. Okay, let me see it, please.
That's a model like it. The difference in that model.
Okay, so it's a bicycle that has it's a bicycle but has this little thing on top.
With the cooler system in the back with the
right.
umbrella.
And this is what you kept in her garage?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
She said she took it out of the garage. She forgot about the bike, left it out, and it came up stolen.
When was it stolen?
It was stolen on a Saturday night.
Do you know what happened?
It was stolen on Saturday night, so that particular night that we was in my garage, me and my family, we were playing some cards that night. So the bike was too big, so I didn't like no smoking in my house, so we was out there. And so I put the bike between my garage door and my car. It was in between. So some between Saturday night and Sunday, the bike got stolen. So in the first place, I did not give Krista Smith a permission to bring any bike to my house for any reason.
How long had the
bike had been there for...
Let me finish?
Okay.
How long had the bike been there before it was stolen?
The bike was been there for like 2 months. At the time that I told Krista for about 2 months to come and give her belongings out of my house. I kept saying, get the bike out of my house, get your stuff out of my house.
Did your aunt ever say to you, come and get your stuff out of the garage and house?
We had a get-together over one of my other auntie's house, my Aunt Mary. That night she mentioned, she said, I've been meaning to call you. I wanted to tell you to come and get the rest of the stuff out the garage. I said, I'm going to get a U-Haul, not this weekend, but next weekend, and I'll be over there to get the rest of the stuff.
that was there, because it was more than just the bike actually in the garage.
What was all your stuff doing in her garage?
We had a store set up in the back of our garage.
Why? Why?
We had started a business, and we had rented out an area that we were leasing. And the lease, the contract had got canceled. So in between time, I had called up my Aunt Veronica, and we had talked on the phone. Before we had actually opened up the store, she said we can come and store my belongings that I had there at her house.
How many times did your aunt tell you to get the stuff out of her garage?
Once.
When? Give me the date.
I don't know the exact date, because it was a weekend. We was over my Aunt Mary's house.
Do you know the date?
July 1st.
And when was the bike stolen?
The bike was stolen in August. August the 12th, 13th, whatever.
Okay.
And that was the agreement was signed. They would pay me $75 a week for selling the candy out of the garage. They never did pay me any money but once. They gave me $50 once. So after that, they would start bringing stuff to my house, bicycles, radios, and TVs and stuff. And I said, hey, wait, hold up. So I couldn't got nowhere to put my stuff in my own house, in my garage and stuff. You guys got to, come get your stuff. They never could come get their stuff out of my garage. And after I tried to get in touch with Crystal about the bike being stolen, for 2 weeks later, that's when she called me. And she called me on the phone, and then they started making threats against me, telling me they're going to burn my house down.
When did you make the agreement with her about renting the space to sell the candy?
Around in June.
And the bike was stolen in August.
Right.
So that they had your permission, at least your niece had your permission, to keep the bike in your garage.
No, Anna. She had only permission to sell candy, not bring bikes and stuff.
I'm not talking about bikes. I'm talking about this bike. This was the one that was stolen, right?
Right. That's what.
So you knew that this was the one she was going to sell the candy from.
But I didn't know that she was going. She didn't ask me to bring no bikes or anything down to my house.
Miss Smith, you're not paying attention to me. Maybe you're not following me. The law says that if you allow someone to store something in your garage, you want to speak. I want you to open your mind, start receiving. Don't be sending out. Receive what I'm saying, because it's something that you don't know. If you say to her, you can sell candy out of my garage and keep this in my garage, or even if you don't have an agreement with her for money, but you say, all right, you want to store it in my garage? I'll let you store it in my garage. And then at some point you say, listen, you got to come get your stuff out. You are still in a position where you have to exercise some ordinary care over her property. But what you did was you put this bike outside and then forgot about it. But for the fact that you brought it outside and forgot to bring it inside, it would have been inside. There was nothing else taken from the garage, right?
No.
So this, you're responsible for.
But Honor, I did not give her permission to bring any bikes or anything down to my house.
Yes, you did, because you just told, and you have a counterclaim. In addition to that, the reason I know that you did, because you have a counterclaim for rent.
I have a counterclaim for...
Shh. You're not receiving. You have a counterclaim for rent, and in your counterclaim, you said you had an agreement with your niece to sell candy out of your garage, and that they were going to pay you $75 a week starting June 1st.
Yes.
You also said that they damaged your carpet.
Right.
I have something to add.
When?
The mess was not made because we were not on carpet. The carpet is only upstairs in the dining room. In the basement is the concrete flooring. In the garage, it's the same thing.
Who purchased this candy wagon? Who
Me
purchased
and my husband went together and purchased.
Let me see when this piece of equipment was purchased.
Here's the receipts.
You paid $2,500 for this thing?
Yes.
Now you have a store. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. When did you stop selling candy?
I'll say the week of the 4th of July.
So why didn't you get the bike out of her house until August?
Officially, we were still open for business. She did not tell us to...
That's not what I asked you. Why didn't you get the bike out when you stopped using it for business?
The week of the 4th, we could not sell any candy out of her premises because she said she was going to be out of town and we could not be there.
Fine, so that's out of town. When did she come back into town?
That following week. She was only...
Why didn't you start to sell your candy again?
Relocated with a new place of business.
So why didn't you get the bike out of her garage?
because the candy and the bike and everything that we owned were still stored in the garage as well.
How much did you pay her for the storage?
The storage was supposed to be $50.
How much did you pay her for the storage?
We did not have a storage fee set up. All we had set up was a weekly fee for the candy.
How much did you pay her?
The agreement was $50 a week. It was not $75 a week.
Fine. How much did you pay her?
I paid her $50.
You didn't pay for 3 weeks in June, nothing in July, and nothing till
the whole 2 months that we were there, we didn't sell candy the whole 2 months.
Why should she take care of your stuff? She told you to move your stuff in July.
The bike got stolen between the 27th of July and the first week of what is that, August?
When was the bike stolen?
Like 20. August 20.
2 seconds ago, you told me it was the 15th.
It was stolen in August. It was stolen in August.
It was stolen the last week
No,
of
it was
July,
stolen
the first week of August.
Show me. How do you know?
The 23rd of August is my brother's birthday.
Oh, please, give me a break. Listen, you left this thing here. It was her fault. It was her fault that this got stolen because she took it and she put it outside and she forgot to bring it back. You show a bill for $2,500.
Yes.
You expect her to pay you $2,500 for this?
I have a receipt.
No way in this earth is she going to pay you $2,500. You took advantage of her. You took advantage of her good nature. You were storing your stuff there. She had to, in order to accommodate herself and her friends playing cards, move your stuff around. She told you to move it. You said, I don't have to move it. I'll move it when I get good and ready.
No, I did not.
Well, you did not. I'm going to tell you something. She has some responsibility. But she has this much responsibility, and you have this much responsibility. She has $200 worth responsibility. You have the rest. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Now, let's get to your carpet cleaning. Forget it. Let's get to your rent. Forget it. Do you understand? Forget it. Don't do any more favors, and don't let any more of your relatives store stuff in your property, because ultimately, if something happens, they're going to come looking for you for money. Do you understand? Yes.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Whitaker, the defendant was your best friend, and it is your claim that she stole $800 out of a duffel bag. In that duffel bag was also some sort of hair straightening device, so you're suing her for the value of that. First of all, why was there cash in a duffel bag?
Because we were out all day long, so I left the cash in the duffel bag so that I didn't lose it, because $800 is a lot to have her carrying around.
What was $800 doing in your duffel bag?
I had used it to get my car fixed. My boyfriend had lent it to me so I could fix my car.
When did your boyfriend give you $800 to fix your car?
He's over in Iraq right now, so he had sent me his ATM card with his PIN number, so he had let me withdraw the money from the ATM.
Why didn't you leave the money home?
Because I hadn't been home in the time that I had withdrew the money.
Oh, you said, I withdrew the money on approximately 5 separate occasions.
Yes, ma'am.
So what I'm asking you is, why didn't you leave the money home? The answer is not that you weren't home. You were home in between those 5 different days that you deposited the money.
No, ma'am, I was not. I was with Danielle the entire time. I had not been home once.
Over how many days did you withdraw the money?
2, the 13th and the 14th of March.
So you were keeping it in the duffel bag to fix your car?
Yes, ma'am. The duffel bag was at Danielle's house the entire time.
Why are you looking so ridiculously funny?
I'm not. I just think it's funny because it's not. None of it's true. I just know that none of it's true. So I'm just listening to what she's saying.
Who else lives in Danielle's house?
At the time, only her sister's boyfriend.
What's your sister's boyfriend's name?
Zach.
Why was he staying with you?
It's my sister and her boyfriend's house. She moved in when they started dating. Now they're engaged. So
you were staying with them?
Yes, I was living with my sister in Spring Hill.
They weren't living with her. She moved in with her sister and her sister's boyfriend.
Yes.
On what date did you find the duffel bag missing?
The 15th, we'd had a fight. My duffel bag was still at her house. She had spent the night at my house the previous night. We had a fight, so I made her leave. And like 20 minutes after, I realized. So I called her, and she told me that I wasn't getting it back.
Okay, you made her leave. What did you say to her?
We just got into a fight. We were screaming at each other, and she just left. And I told her, just get out.
What did you say when you called her 20 minutes later?
I just told her that because I had clothes and my hair straightened and everything, I just told her that I needed it all back, and she told me.
No, just a second. Did you say anything about cash?
No, ma'am.
You just said my duffel bag is there and I have stuff in it?
Yes.
What did you say? Tell me what
just
you
that
said.
My duffel bag was still there and I needed it back.
And what did she say?
She told me that I wasn't going to get it back.
Why did you say that to her?
I did not say that to her
Yes,
at
you
all.
did. There's no
I
question
didn't.
in my mind you said that to her.
No, ma'am, there's no question in my
Not
mind
yet.
that I didn't say it. There was no phone calls. There was about 6 text messages first on the phone, and then it was followed by her calling me and threatening me.
Okay, well,
so
what did the text?
I didn't call her at all.
I didn't say you called her.
Okay.
I didn't say you called her.
No, I know.
You're not paying attention.
I just said
You're
she
not
called
paying
me.
it.
I was just letting you know she was the one that called me.
That's what she said.
Okay. I was just confirming the fact that she was right, that she did call me. Oh, my God.
Something wrong with your affect. Pay attention.
No.
Put on your listening ears. What did you say when she called you and told you about the duffel bag?
She didn't say anything about the duffel bag.
What did she call you for?
She told, when we were previously at her house, she
No.
mentioned something.
No. When
She
you had a fight and
Okay.
you left.
Yeah.
Listen to me very
Uh-huh.
carefully. When you had a fight and you left, she called you. That you just told me happened. What did she say when she called you?
She said that she, to come back to the house, that she was going to stab me. It had nothing to do about the duffel bag.
She said, come back to the house because I'm going to stab you?
Yeah. And I called, and then after her phone call, I called up her mother and let her know that she called me and said that. This is my best friend since I was about 5 years old. I went to his house. I was crying, upset. It's about 25 minutes back to my sister's house. I didn't want to drive back there upset because I knew, you just don't want to drive when you're upset. So I stopped at his house, and that was about the time she did like 6 text messages. And about 5 minutes after I got to his house, he was actually sitting there when she made that phone call. And then I called her mother, and I actually called the police. And I told them that I didn't have time to do a full report because I had to get back up to my sister's house to have her car back so she could get to work. But I told them that I was scared and that I just wanted to call in and at least let them know and give them the names. And they said, okay.
Where's her duffel bag?
Her duffel bag was still at my house. But it takes about 25 minutes there and back. So I didn't want to go all the way back up there and then come back. Told her
I
she
just
could
asked you a question. Where was the duffel bag?
It was still at my house.
And what happened when you got to your house?
Got to my house. My sister used her car, and I stayed there.
What did you do with the duffel bag?
It stayed there. I didn't touch the duffel bag.
How did your sister get hold of her hair straightener?
Because I lived there. About 2 days later, I moved out, and I left it there by accident. And my sister hadn't brought it back yet.
Okay.
But I don't.
How did your sister get her hair straightener? Because I read your answer.
Because
what?
I lived with her.
Well, what was she doing going into the duffel bag? Was she a thief?
Her and she let me use the straightener before we left to go to her.
The duffel bag was, the hair straightener was in the duffel bag.
No, it wasn't. It was in my bathroom plugged in because right before we left to go hang out with a few of our friends, go back towards her house, we did our hair, so it was left in my bathroom plugged in.
Is that
we turned
correct?
it off.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So now where's the duffel bag?
On my rack in my bedroom because I didn't have a closet. I had a rack with my clothes on it, so it was on the bottom rack.
So who stole her money?
There was no money in it.
Oh, yeah, she's going to show me proof that she took money out.
Oh, I bet she did take money out, but there was no cash in the duffel bag.
How do you know that?
One, because...
How do you know that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm very reluctant to make a judgment that somebody took property, because to label somebody a thief, as far as I'm concerned, is a very serious thing.
And later today,
One night we hung out and had relations.
When was it?
About January 15th.
I assume that either you were disappointed with January 15th or you found his behavior somewhat bizarre.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth Whitaker claims former friend Danielle Kahneman stole $800 from her duffel bag. Danielle says Elizabeth spent the $800 on drugs.
Madam, I asked you a simple question. You're giving me all kinds of mumbo-jumbo. How did you know there was no cash in the duffel bag?
Because my friend Sam called me up and said that Beth was calling her up to ask her for cocaine. I was worried about it, and that's when I called her boyfriend. But she was my best friend. If there was cash in her duffel bag, don't you think she would have said something to me when she asked me to bring back the duffel bag?
Not if you had just had a fight.
Okay, well, 3 weeks after, when she actually came and picked it up, she never said one word to my mom or anything about the cash either. I have not heard one thing about cash.
Well,
ever.
when was the first time did you hear about cash?
When I got served, when I found out about this.
When was the first time, Miss Whitaker, that you advised anybody that there was cash in that duffel bag?
I had told my mother, and the night that she had called my mother had questioned her about the money in the bag.
Could you stand up, please? Mrs. Whitaker?
Yes.
You spoke to the defendant?
Yes.
When?
The night they had the fight.
Tell me about the conversation.
She called me, actually, to get a number out of Beth's phone that she wanted.
What did she say to you? Tell me what she said.
That's exactly what she said. Can you get a number out of the phone for me?
Whose number was it?
I don't know. I didn't ask her.
Go ahead.
And I said to her, Danielle, what happened to the money? And she launches into this big thing that she didn't even know Beth had any money, and if Beth never told her there was any money. And I said, Danielle, she's been with you for the last 3 or 4 days. You're the only one she's been with. I didn't take her to the bank, so you must have.
What did she say?
She said, well, the only thing I can think of is that I stopped at the grocery store and Beth wanted to wait in the car, and that's when she must have done it. And I said, Danielle, that doesn't make any kind of sense. And she says, well, you know, Beth hasn't been making any sense lately. She's been acting really crazy, and that's what people on drugs do. And she goes on to tell me that we can get her help and that we can get her into rehab. And I said, Danielle, what happened to the money? And Danielle said to me, well, the drug dealer must have it. And I said, well, you must have taken her to the drug dealer because I know I didn't. And then she said, well, I don't know how she got to the drug dealer. And then she says to me that she contacted Beth's boyfriend, Richard. She said that she and Richard had been friends for a long time and she wasn't going to let this come between her, you know, affect her and Richard's friendship. And she said that she called Richard and set up a 3-way conversation, and Beth didn't know that Richard was on the other line. And she said that she confronted Beth about spending the money on drugs, and she said that she just couldn't believe that Beth had spent $800 of Richard's money on drugs. And I said to her, Danielle, how did you know it was $800? And she said, because Richard told me. And I said, Danielle, Richard's in Iraq. He doesn't have a cell phone. You couldn't have called him. Then she said that her mother was trying to call her and she would call me back, and needless to say, I never heard from her again.
You still have the boyfriend in Iraq?
Yes, ma'am.
You have something you want to say to me?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, when she had called, I was there for the conversation, when they had the argument, she came to my house crying, that she was like, I could hear her over the line, she was screaming very loudly at her, like, you know, threatening her. It's like, you need to come back to the house so I can kick you. You know, I'm going to stab you, da-da-da. You know, she came to my house in a wreck. I mean, I couldn't believe, like, what she could probably have said to her to, like, you know,
I can't believe it either. Now you can sit down. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Did you have that conversation with Mrs. Whitaker?
Some of it, yes.
What didn't you say to her?
I don't know
Is
what
not
I
an
didn't
answer.
say to her, but I know what I did say to her. She didn't ask me about an actual amount of money. What she asked was, she told me she found some ATM.
So you knew about them, just a second. So you knew about the money, the missing money, listen to me. So you knew about the missing money the same day as it was missing.
I knew that she said she found withdrawal receipts, so I didn't know anything about the duffel bag, cash being in the duffel bag. She just told me she found withdrawal receipts and said that Beth spent some money. I had no idea there would be money at my house. There couldn't have been money at my house, because there was no conversation about that until obviously now.
No,
Her mom
there
told
was
me
a
that there was-
conversation about it with her mother the same day that it happened. And
But
usually,
it had nothing to do-
I am, yes, it had to do with that money.
Not with my house, though. She called me up and said that she found withdrawal receipts and she wanted to know if I knew anything about it. I told her no, that I never brought her to the bank, and that's all that I knew.
And you didn't discuss with her a 3-way conversation?
No, I don't have her boyfriend's cell phone number.
All I'm asking you is, you didn't discuss a 3-way conversation with her?
No.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay.
How's that?
That's
How's
fine.
that? Don't believe you. Okay. I'm very, very reluctant on circumstantial type evidence when other people have access to property to make a judgment that somebody took property. I'm reluctant to do that because to label somebody a thief, as far as I'm concerned, is a very serious thing. There is no question in my mind that you either took it or know who took the money out of her duffel bag. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
All right, let's go. Who would have $800 cash in a duffel bag and not come and get it for 3 weeks?
I tried to get everything back, and it was just, she just kept pulling me in circles.
Her boyfriend's away in Iraq. She was spending a lot of time stuck on the computer talking to him.
We did get into an argument about me talking to my boyfriend.
She was just spending more time on the phone with him than she was spending time with me.
I miss him.
I don't know exactly what was going on with the drugs, but if there was something going on, then, I mean, I feel sorry for her.
She's the one with the drug problem.
We were best friends.
I do feel sorry for her, though, honestly, and just, I hope everything works out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Givens versus Delgado. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Jeffrey Givens is suing his former friend, 21-year-old Sierra Delgado, for a loan to put a down payment on a new apartment.
Mr. Givens, it is your claim that you made a loan to Miss Delgado in the amount of $700. She was a friend of yours. Miss Delgado says that she accepted the $700 from you because she needed some money and it was a gift. How long do you know her?
Your Honor, I have known Ms. Delgado since January. I met her at Bartending Academy, and I think that the gift part of that whole story that you just gave me is an utter fabrication.
You have a copy of your check?
Yes, Your Honor. It's a copy of the check and the date when it cleared.
Check is for $1,000, sir. What was the $1,000 for?
Yes, Your Honor. I wanted to pull out $1,000, and she gave me $300 back. So I am suing for $700.
Tell me how it came about, sir, that you knew that she needed $700.
Your Honor, she asked me for money to help pay for her deposit on her new apartment.
When was this?
This was probably January 28th, and I gave the money to her on February 1st.
So you had known her less than a month?
Correct.
Why did you approach him about needing money?
Well, we had met at the Bartending Academy, and we had a friendship going. One night we hung out, and we had relations. After that, I told him I didn't want anything other than a friendship.
Well, when did your relationship with the plaintiff become more than just a friendship?
I would say it was just a one-night stand.
When?
This was in January, the end of January.
Give me the date.
I don't remember the date. We were drinking.
Think about it.
Oh, well, the beginning of January. I'm sorry.
You're testing my patience. Other than bartending school, what else do you do?
I work at 2 restaurants.
And you?
I am a student, Your Honor, and
Where?
I just got out of the Navy, University of San Diego.
Are you a full-time student or a part-time student?
Your Honor, I am a full-time student, biology major.
Who supports you?
I support myself, Your Honor. I was in the Navy, and I have money left over. I have loans, and the military is supporting me a little bit with the GI Bill.
Where were you in service?
I served in Japan, and I served in San Diego.
When were you in Japan?
From 2000 to 2004. And I was in San Diego from 2004 to 2006, October 23rd. That's when I got out.
Do you remember the time that you had an intimate relationship with the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was it?
It was about January 15th, because that was when Bartending Academy was going on.
And was it after that that she said she only wanted to be friends?
Correct. I did want to be in a relationship with her. She didn't want to, so I cut it off. I had a new relationship going when I gave her the money. So I thought, since I was a personal trainer as well, and I thought, since I can't be your significant other or whatever that may be, I would like to be your friend, personal trainer. I tried to help her. When I sat down with her at the Cheesecake Factory, I gave her a goal list. This was my way of a contract. It's not a contract, but I was trying to help her. I bent over backwards for this young lady.
This is my friend Veronica. She was...
How long has she been your friend?
Since junior high. She's one of the first people that I said, hey, I tell her my problems, and I would have had the money by the end of February, but the girl I was taking the contract over with said she wanted it at the beginning of the month. So I wasn't prepared for that, and I sent Mr. Gibbons a text message, hey, how do you get $700 in a day? Just, joking. He was a friend, and he jokingly said, stand on the corner of El Cajon Boulevard.
That's a tease.
Yeah.
Madam, you owe him $700.
I don't owe him any money.
Yes, you do!
He gave it to me as a gift.
No, he gave it to you under false pretenses.
Your Honor, I haven't...
No, I'm speaking. If you had already made a decision, Ms. Delgado, that all you wanted was a friendship, if anything, because I assumed that either you were disappointed with January 15th or you found his behavior somewhat bizarre. Either way, I don't care if you go into a homeless shelter. You don't take money from him under false pretenses. And you don't coyly send him a text message, hey, when you know that he wants more from you than you were willing to give him. How do you get $700 in a day? That you may say to your mother or your father. That you may say to your brother or your sister. That you don't say to a guy who is clearly wearing his heart on his sleeve, because that is unkind and cruel and fraudulent. You owe him $700. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. The calendar in the matter of Eccles versus Oakley.
Thanks, Bert.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You gals were best friends for a long time, according to what I've read in your paper, since you were practically children. And, Miss Eccles, there came a time when you wanted to go on vacation. You wanted to go together. You didn't have any money at the time. You put the entire vacation on your credit card. You claimed with the understanding that the defendant would reimburse you. You went on the vacation. She didn't pay.
Right.
Okay. When was this vacation planned?
Around April of last year, maybe a month before.
And where were you going?
To Jamaica, the West Indies.
For a week?
Which she suggested to go.
And how did it come about that you decided to go?
Well, we had a little breakup at the time. You know, me and her usually break up every 6 months or so. And I don't know, we were driving, we obviously made up, driving on Queens Boulevard. She said, let's go to Card and Travel, charge a trip, come on, you're starting an NYU, I'm going to work, blah, blah, blah. I said, all right, no problem. Put it on my credit card because I know you're not working, not a problem. And went right in, she gave me $50 towards the trip. I charged $2,300, she gave me $50, and agreed to pay me back, verbally.
Tell me about the conversation with regard to reimbursing you, if there was one. And if there wasn't one,
it was pretty much no problem, Vic. You know, anytime you get your job, I know you're going to get your job at Bloomingdale. She was applying for it. I knew she'd get it. She gets everything she wants. And I said, no problem. When you get your job, you pay me back. I didn't bring anything up about interest.
Okay, just a second. So you said to her, when you get your job, you'll pay me back.
Mm-hmm.
What did she say to you, if you remember?
A nod, a yes, okay, sure, no problem, everything. That's how we talk. We were best friends. I knew she would pay me back. I bought her clothes, she paid me back. I lent her money for jackets, she'd pay me back.
Okay.
Anytime I lent her money, she paid me back.
We're not talking about clothes and jackets
All right.
here. Now, Miss Eccles, we're talking about
The
this
trip.
vacation
Mhm.
trip. According to you, there did come a time when she did give you some money towards the trip. Is that right?
$250. Mm-hmm.
When?
4/9, 6/20, 7/14, and 9/19, the year 1999.
Let me see.
This is all, I kept it on a little piece of paper.
No.
There's 4 times. She paid me $50 here, $50 there, $100 here,
What?
$100 there.
The reason I put the $50 down was because I was the one that went to the travel agent and booked it, and they needed $50 down.
We were the ones that went.
Just a
We
second.
went to the travel agent.
We didn't go
Just
together.
a second. In September, did you give her $100?
Yeah.
You did?
I did. Not for that.
Not for that?
No, I gave it to her because she needed money. That's the friendship
Here
we
we
had.
go. Sorry.
Just a second. In July, did you give her $100?
I don't remember the date, but yes, I did give her another $100.
Okay. So let's hear your version of these events.
Okay. During that time, Denise and I were going through graduating college and trying to move forward. We were a little stressed out. I said, I need a vacation. She did. She was my travel buddy. We went everywhere together. We were best friends. I'd give her money if she needed it. She'd give it to me. She did a lot for me. She was there for me when I needed somebody. And she turned around and said, Vic, why don't we book the trip? Let's just do it. I said, I don't have the money for that. And she said, well, I have my loans coming in from school. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. At that time, I didn't even know about Bloomingdale's, so as far as me getting my job, I didn't start Bloomingdale's until August, so that has nothing to do with it. So she said, why don't you go? She couldn't come with me at the time. She said, go to the travel agent and get the information. I put the $50 down because I was the only one there. And then she went back and paid the balance at a separate time. We weren't together. I never agreed to pay her back the money.
What?
Shh. No. Shh.
What? What? I'm sorry.
Don't say what
I'm
again.
sorry.
Quiet.
What? I'm sorry. I really am.
It was your suggestion to go away on the vacation, according to you.
It was
That's what you
my
just
suggestion.
said. So it was
It
your
was
suggestion. Why don't we go away on vacation?
I said I needed a vacation.
Well, you said you needed a vacation. Neither one of you had a lot of money.
No, I had credit though.
Sorry.
She had credit. I didn't.
Neither one of you had a lot of money, right?
Right. That.
And you were good friends.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she was going to college.
Graduate school.
Graduate school.
Yes. September.
And you were really good friends.
Yeah, we had plans to move out together that August.
You were really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you were well aware of the fact that graduate school was very important to her.
Oh, absolutely.
And that school loans usually don't cover all the expenses from school, right?
Right.
Usually people have to supplement those loans with getting a part-time job and other things, especially graduate school loans, right?
Right.
So that if she were to take the full $2,300 for the trip, charging your trip as well as hers, and pay for that from her graduate school loans, which she had not gotten yet.
Correct.
That would have not been a smart thing for her to do as a person who was serious about school, right? She might have been short in her tuition, right? And you were a very good friend.
Correct.
So you wouldn't want her to be short on
Not
her
at all.
tuition.
Nope.
And that was the only money she had, right?
Yep.
So as a very good friend, as you said, you were going to move in together, I cannot imagine you expecting her to not have enough money to pay for her tuition in order to take you on a trip.
I wasn't expecting her to take me on a trip. She offered it because we needed
I
it.
just said, you're the friend.
I am. Mm-hmm.
And I cannot imagine a really good friend for over a decade allowing their best buddy to risk not having enough tuition because they took you on a trip to Jamaica. What I can imagine,
May I?
Miss Oakley, is the best friend saying, listen, between now and the time you need the money for tuition, I will have started my job and I'll be able to start paying you.
Which is why I gave her the money.
Which is why you gave her the $200. Well, that's
she needed
that.
it.
Just a second.
Not to pay back the
There you
trip because
go.
she needed it.
You just said, which is why then I
Because
gave
she
her
needed
back
it.
the money.
Because she needed it.
No, that's not
She
why.
wasn't working. She needed
Hey.
the money.
That wasn't why.
Miss Eccles,
Okay.
does it look as if you're having a hard time before me?
No, but there's so much more to this than you can imagine.
I'm not interested in
I know.
so much
I
more.
know. I know, but I just want to tell her.
I mean, I read the papers that there was some hurt because one of your grandmothers died.
I'd be mad.
Brain
I didn't even get a
cancer.
phone call.
You were hurt because you didn't get a phone call from her. When did your grandmother pass away?
Last month.
Last month, so you were angry. Well,
No,
last
I'm not
month has
angry.
nothing to do with not paying back this money before that. So you did give her $250 because you thought she needed the money.
Because I knew she needed the money. Because her loans fell through, school wasn't working out, and she wasn't working.
Oh, well, this may be even an easier case to decide than calling you a bit of a fibber, Miss Oakley. You...
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What she told me was, don't worry about it. I have the loans coming. I'll have money. That's what she said to me.
Her loans fell through.
They did.
There, make it easy. I don't have to call you a total fibber.
And later today,
Hey, attention, Mr. Williams. Who's smarter, do you think, you or me?
Probably you. You're older than me.
Even when I was your age.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Denise Eccles says former friend Victoria Oakley never paid her part of their trip to Jamaica.
Miss Oakley, you do agree, and I've read in your answer, that the agreement that you say she offered to pay for your part of the trip out of the school loans that she was going to get.
She didn't say that she was paying for it out of her loans, but what she told me was, don't worry about it. I have the loans coming. I'll have money. That's what she said to me.
Okay.
Don't
I'll have the loans coming, so I will have enough money to pay. I will have the loans, therefore I will have the money to pay for your trip. You accepted this trip, understanding that your portion of the trip was to be paid, according to you, and I don't believe you, but according to you, it was to be paid from the loans that she was going to get. That was your understanding?
That's my understanding.
Her loans fell through?
They did.
Then you got to pay. There, make it easy. I don't have to call you a total fibber. There was a contingency on her paying for your half of the trip, and the contingency of her paying for your half of the trip was that she got loans. Her loans fell through. Therefore, you have to pay. Now, that's one scenario. And the first scenario, which I believe better, was that as soon as you got your job, you would start reimbursing her. You ultimately got your job in Bloomingdale's, and you were supposed to start to pay her when you started to work. All right, what does she owe you for half the trip? $950?
And interest?
You're suing her for $950.
Okay, it's $950.
That's what you're
more
suing her
than
for.
enough.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $950.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't have any kind of a grudge against her, and I hope that maybe one day we can be friends. She was wrong, I was right, that's it. The weather was terrible, it was just a terrible trip.
Beautiful trip.
Got the pictures to prove.
And now the next case.
All parties on Dold versus Williams. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Brian Dold is suing classmate 18-year-old Taylor Williams for denting his car during a physical altercation.
Mr. Dold, you claim that the defendant damaged your car, which is what you're suing for.
Yes, ma'am.
Your complaint also alleges that he assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
I was sort of curious that you weren't suing for the assault, but just for the damage on the car. Did you file a police report about this?
Yes, ma'am. I have it right here.
Was he arrested for the assault?
No, ma'am, he was not.
All right. Tell me how this altercation started, sir. Where were you?
We were at the Oak Meadow Recreational Center in a neighborhood. We were sitting at the park. It was me, my girlfriend, and 3 other friends. Mr. Williams here came into the park with Kenny. Started asking to
So you knew each other?
No. I just knew of him, knew his name, but I never talked to Taylor before.
Had you seen him before?
Yes, at school.
In the past?
Yeah.
So you knew who he was?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we're in the park, and Mr. Williams approached me and my girlfriend and 3 other people with Kenny, and they asked the whereabouts of my friend Shane. I told him I don't know where Shane's at, and Taylor replied, "I think you do." And I said, "No, I don't." And he smelled of alcohol and seemed agitated and getting closer to me. So my girlfriend grabbed me by the arm. We started walking to my vehicle. Taylor runs to my vehicle, stumbles, lands into my door, and punches me once in the nose and attempts 2 more times. But I managed to block it with my arms.
And how did he damage your car?
When his body ran into the door, it caused 3 dents, which I have pictures of here.
Okay, I'll take a look at the pictures in a minute. All right, Mr. Williams, not a difficult situation so far. Tell me your version of the events, sir.
Okay, I never met Mr. Doley, but he's had previous encounters with my friends before.
With your friends. Now, were those friends who he had previous encounters with you that day in the park?
We have a big group of friends, and it was with all our friends. But
Mr. Williams, pay careful attention. So that the people that you believed had confrontations with the plaintiff before were not with you in the park that day?
No, they weren't.
How many people were in the park with you?
I went with my friend Kenny because we were riding around with our...
How many people were with you?
1 friend was with me.
Did you get to the park by car, or did you walk to the park?
Yes, ma'am. We were riding around in my friend Greg's car.
You were with 2 other friends that day, then?
Yes, ma'am.
Not
And one
but
of
2.
Brian's friends called us on his cell phone and was telling us how Brian and his friends wanted to fight us and just talk trash to our friends. And in the past, I have a Jewish friend, and Brian... And
Just a second. You're on your cell phone. Somebody is telling you that this unnamed person, Shane, wants to fight with you and your friends, right?
That's correct.
You think that he knows where Shane is.
No, Brian's friends with Shane, he was in on it too.
So you went up to them. They were in the park.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went up to him and said what?
I went up and I said, "What's the problem?" Because I'd never met him before. And I wanted to see what was up. I wanted to know why they wanted to mess with me and my friends.
Oh, okay.
And they were all sitting around drinking, and we didn't get a good response.
We were sitting
Don't speak. They were all sitting around, and you did not get a good response. What do you mean you didn't get a good response, Mr. Williams?
They were all drinking and being obnoxious, and I knew it wasn't going to be anything.
So he didn't answer you?
Nothing good was going to come out of it.
Just pay attention, Mr. Williams. Who's smarter, do you think, you or me?
Probably you. You're older than you.
Even when I was your age.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I heard Brian say something along the lines of, "Hey, man."
So what did you do?
I went and I hit him.
Just changed my mind. Smarter than you were when I was born.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brian Dole says classmate Taylor Williams dented his car during an assault. Taylor says he never touched the car.
Okay. So you asked him a question. Now he responded something when you asked him a question. What did he respond?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
No, ma'am.
So say, "I don't remember."
I don't remember.
And then, according to your answer, he and his girlfriend and another friend walked back to their car, right?
Yes, ma'am. We were walking away, too.
They walked back to their car, correct?
Correct. They were walking back to the car, and we were walking back to our car.
And where was your car parked compared to where their car was parked?
This wasn't Greg's car.
Where was
it? Was on the street, and they were parked in the park parking lot.
Okay. So he's walking back to the parking lot, and you're walking back, allegedly, towards the car that you came in.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's pick up the action from there, Mr. Williams.
Okay, I'm walking back to... 3 of our friends pulled up, and I was walking back to their car.
So 3 more friends pulled up.
They were all girls.
3 more friends pulled up. And you were walking where?
And Kenny and I were walking back to the car.
Which car?
The car that just pulled up, the 3 friends.
The car with the 3 girls?
The 3 new friends.
Okay, so you're walking up to their car.
Mm-hmm.
And?
And I heard Ryan say something along the lines of, "Hey, man." And from what I've heard...
Okay, so you heard him say something that you didn't like, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
It was in a threatening manner, and...
No, just a minute. You remember succinctly that he cursed at you.
Yes, I do.
as you were walking to the car with the girls, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
I went and I hit him.
How far did you have to walk to hit him?
10 feet.
He ran.
He ran.
No, I didn't.
You ran.
No, I
Just
didn't.
a second. Ran, walked. You walked up to him and you hit him. Why did you do that?
Because everything I've heard about this guy is nothing good, and every time I've seen him and his friends at school, they just stare at me, and that's the whole reason I was there, because they wanted to fight me. So I figured, if he said, "Hey, man, I mean, I don't know, I know I shouldn't have hit him, but I don't know what this guy's going to do." I didn't know if he was going to
He was getting into his car.
He was already in the car, right?
He was already in the car when you hit him?
I didn't know if he
Just a
was...
second. He was already in the car when you hit him?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see the damage to the car. You idiot. Fool.
I have two.
Just changed
I didn't
my
hit the
mind.
car,
Also,
Smarter than you were when I was born.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Pretty one-sided.
He got little, tiny, whatever. Mr. Williams, if you're going to show off for friends...
I wasn't showing off for friends. I was defending myself. And I hit
No,
Brian Doty. I
Mr.
didn't hit his
Williams.
car.
How can you defend yourself, sir, when according to you, he's sitting in his car? According to you, he's sitting in his car.
He was sitting in his car, but this is a guy that's harassed my friends and me for the previous month in school. And
So what?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Williams, he's in the park with his friends. You go to the park, even though you say he's been harassing you, messing with you and your friends, but you went to find them. They didn't come looking for you.
we saw them.
And, of course you saw them. You saw them there and you went into the park. Now, when you got into the park, and after you had words with him that you don't remember, he tried to get away from the situation before it escalated, took his friends to get back into his car.
No, he didn't try to get away. We both walked off at the same time.
He walked
Everybody
off.
walked off from the situation.
Not you.
I was walking away when I turned around and went and hit him.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $325. I don't think I'm going to get through to him if I had 10 years.
Parties are excused.
Pretty one-sided.
Trên tay mình đang cầm đây là dòng máy cào râu Judge quất 301 cú siêu bền với bộ sản phẩm máy cào khô Judge 301 cú sẽ giúp chúng ta có thể cào râu và cào các cái trống chấn phát đem một cách rất là dễ dàng. Và với cái dòng thiết kế của máy Judge thì là thiết kế tiền dụng, máy khỏe, cào sáp trắng như các cái loài dao cào râu thông thường, mà không nên cái tình trạng gây ra cái tình trạng đau rát hoặc là sực da khi mà chúng ta sử dụng. Thì với dòng máy cào khô Judge 301 cú thì sử dụng cái pin sạc và thời gian sạc đầy pin sẽ là từ 8 giờ và chúng ta có thể sử dụng từ 3 cho đến 40 phút. Sử dụng điện sạc vào máy là từ 140 cho đến 240V và phù hợp với cái điện áp tại Việt Nam của chúng ta. Và sau khi mà sử dụng xong máy, khi chúng ta sử dụng để cào râu xong thì chúng ta sẽ dùng chổi để vệ sinh các cái lưỡi cắt và giúp cái lưỡi của chúng ta sẽ luôn được sạch sẽ và cái thời gian cái tuổi thọ của nó sẽ được bền bỉ. Và đặc biệt là chúng ta hạn chế sạc quá giờ để máy hết hoặc là để máy hết pin quá lâu ngày, hay là chúng ta liên tục cắm điện trực tiếp khi mà sử dụng, vì là nếu mà như vậy thì sẽ ảnh hưởng đến cái tuổi thọ và đến cái pin sẽ không được lâu dài. Và đặc biệt đối với dòng máy này thì tuyệt đối là không rửa sản phẩm vào nước, vì nếu như chúng ta rửa nước thì có thể gây những cái tình trạng chập các cái mạch hay là chập các cái pin ở trong máy. Đó là một cái điều mà chúng ta nên lưu ý khi mà chúng ta sử dụng tất cả các cái loại máy cào râu, đặc biệt là chạy bằng pin và sạc bằng điện, thì chúng ta không nên là rửa bằng nước, mà chúng ta sẽ vệ sinh máy bằng cách là chúng ta sẽ lấy chổi và chúng ta sẽ quét khô và chúng ta sẽ vệ sinh khô